Hey friends, hope you're all doing well. We're doing okay too, just really tired since we've been working non-stop. We wanted to answer a question many of you ask: how does our publishing process work? Most of our audiobooks are first posted on Patreon as paid content. They stay behind a paywall for a few months. After that, they become free to access on Patreon forever. Then, a few weeks later, we upload them to other platforms like YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, X. Lately, our community hasn't been growing much, and we could really use your help. Please share our site in your Facebook groups, Discord servers, Reddit threads, Twitter, X, or with any friends who might be interested. Every little bit helps and we really appreciate it. Thanks a lot for being with us and supporting what we do. Chapter 1: Mystic Moon Island, the Cultivation World. As part of the Endless Sea Domain, the vastness of Xilong Sea stretches across hundreds of thousands of miles. The sea area is dotted with various islands, large and small, like stars scattered across the sky, too numerous to count. Mystic Moon Island, a medium-sized island, has been under the control of the Cultivation family, the Lu family, for several hundred years now. In a cave at the foot of the central Kingling Peak on Mystic Moon Island, a man was sitting cross-legged on a mat. The man appeared to be around 17 or 18 years old with an unrestrained temperament and handsome features. His eyes were slightly closed, and wisps of spiritual energy rose above his head. After over a month of seclusion, I've finally broken through to the 6th layer of chi refinement. A moment later, Lu Li opened his eyes, feeling the mana within his body increased yet again, his face alight with joy. He was originally an ordinary office worker on Blue Star, who had unexpectedly transmigrated to this sea area of the cultivation world after getting drunk, having already been here for 17 years. From the initial nervousness and discomfort to now, he had completely adapted to this region of the cultivation world. Fortunately, his talents were passable, with the affinity of his gold and water spirit roots reaching 69 points, which was considered above average. I wonder if I can begin the initial refinement of this strange treasure now that I've broken through. With a thought from Lu Li, an item shaped like a pot appeared in his hand. The object was only as tall as a palm and looked completely unremarkable with its rust-covered surface. If it weren't for the fact that this object had come with him through his transmigration, constantly in the depths of his mind, he might have believed it was nothing more than an ordinary item. After years of nurturing it with his mana, he felt an ever deeper connection with it and was just one step away from leaving his mark on it. This filled him with a vague sense of anticipation. Lu Li took a deep breath, and carefully began to channel his mana and divine sense towards the artifact to imprint it. Just as his divine sense touched the body of the pot, something unexpected happened. The entire artifact suddenly emitted a gray light and began to float from his hands, hovering in midair. I succeeded. Lu Li's face beamed with happiness. As he had guessed, there were significant gains after this breakthrough. Just then, the artifact suddenly transformed into a streak of light and rushed towards him. Before he could react, it disappeared into the depths of his mind. Demon refining pot. A short while later, Lu Li stroked his chin, contemplative. At that moment when the artifact had entered his body, a stream of information suddenly appeared in his mind. It looks like there's a high probability that this treasure is related to demon beasts. With another thought, the demon refining pot reappeared in his hand. He ran his hands gently over some beast engravings on the body of the pot, feeling a cool sensation from his fingertips. Seeing nothing unusual, Lu Li opened the pot's lid to find its inside wasn't large and was completely empty. At this sight, he suddenly had some plans in mind. He then stored the demon refining pot and resumed his seated meditation for chi cultivation to consolidate the cultivation level he had just broken through. Several days later, with the buzzing of an array, a young figure instantly appeared outside the cave, dressed in a flowing white robe. Lu Li casually made his way to the middle of the mountain with his hands clasped behind his back. Mystic Moon Island was named for its crescent-like shape. The island, located on the southern edge of the Xilong Sea, covered more than 100 miles. Underneath the center of Kingling Peak on the island lay a second-order, mid-grade spirit vein, rich in spiritual energy. Lu Li took a deep breath of the spiritual energy, and his entire body felt like it was on the verge of ascending, the spiritual energy growing more abundant the higher he ascended the mountain. Along the way, he encountered several family cultivators, all smiles and amiable. Family cultivators were often more united than those of sex, even their competition was within rules. Brother 6, you've finally left seclusion. Just then, a beautiful young woman approached on the mountain path. The woman was about 16 years old with a slim figure, wearing a green palace dress that gave her an agile look. Huh? Brother 6, did your cultivation level break through again? Feeling the stronger spiritual pressure emanating from Lu Li, Lu Yuling was surprised. Lu Li smiled. By luck, I have broken through. Sister 9, if you practice diligently, I'm sure you too can improve quickly. Lu Yuling pouted in response. How can I compare with you, the little genius of the Lu family? Although our spirit roots are not much different. I'm only at the 4th level of chi refinement, whereas you've reached the 6th level. I'm afraid only Sister King can surpass you among the younger generation of the Lu family. Are you heading to receive the offering, 9th sister? It would be good to go together with 6th brother. Lu Li smiled, then deftly changed the subject, fearing that they might otherwise get drowned in his resentment. Lu Li, precocious from the young age, deeply understood the importance of strength in the cultivation world and had practiced diligently since childhood. Combined with his decent aptitude, he quickly surpassed his peers and earned the title of a young genius within the Lu family. As for the true situation, probably only he himself understood, for in terms of spirit root, he was far inferior to Lu Qing's 80 points of affinity. His achievements to this day were all due to his painstaking cultivation. A group of cultivators of the same age respected and feared him. Remembering some interesting events from his childhood, Lu Li's lips curved into a slight smile. While they conversed, they arrived halfway up the mountain. A great hall built of green wood stood before the two. A plaque several feet long hung above the doorframe, engraved with 3 big red characters, Household Affairs Hall. The two walked in side by side. Inside the hall was very spacious and tidy, with a desk placed in the center. A beautiful young woman lay lazily on a taishi chair behind the desk, her body ondulating up and down with the rocking chair. The air was filled with a faint scent of flowers and herbs. "Third aunt, we have come to collect this month's offering," Lu Yuling called out with a clear and pleasant voice. Third aunt, Lu Yuling, opened her eyes, her face hazy. "So it's Yuling and Li, the lad. You're quite early today." "Good day, third aunt." Lu Li bowed with his hands clasped together, feeling somewhat helpless. "Tell me, Li, who's more beautiful, me or your mother?" Lu Yuling blinked, teasingly asking Lu Li. Lu Li's expression turned slightly awkward. The youngster dares not to casually discuss his elders. In his eyes, since third aunt Lu Yuling's failed foundation establishment, she had become rather eccentric. As a direct granddaughter of the family ancestor from the older generation, third aunt Lu Yuling could be said to have been born with a golden key. The family ancestor had even exchanged the only foundation establishment pill of the previous generation for her. However, contrary to her wishes, Lu Yuling ultimately failed at foundation establishment. Although she broke through to the 12th layer of perfect chi refinement because of it, there was still a vast difference from foundation establishment. Hearing his words, Lu Yuling yawned and said, "Really boring." Then she threw 2 cloth bags onto the desk. Lu Li picked up one of them and, after checking its contents, was about to leave. Suddenly, he saw Lu Yuling with a puzzled look. "Isn't it 4 spirit stones and 4 chi refinement pills for mid-stage chi cultivation? How come there's one missing of each?" Lu Yuling smiled. "From now on, the stipend of everyone will be reduced for the coming years, except for Lu Qingqing. Of course, the portion for the Li kid will be made up by the family ancestor himself, he is the only exception. If you have the ability, you can also get the family ancestor to make an exception for you." Lu Yuling's face paused, and she cast a somewhat resentful look at Lu Li. "Everyone agreed to share the hardships together, and yet you're the exception." She gathered the spirit stones and left with Lu Li. Watching their retreating figures, Lu Yuling fell into deep thought. This Li kid is extremely obstinate. I wonder what the family ancestor sees in him to make an exception. Walking along the mountain trail, Lu Li became somewhat silent. It seems the family ancestor is planning to prepare for the foundation establishment pill once more. The days ahead will probably be tough for our clan members, Lu Yuling spoke softly. Lu Li also felt a weight in his heart. This generation's Lu family ancestor, Lu Tand, was already over 150 years old, not far from the 200-year lifespan limit. If no one could succeed in foundation establishment in the next decades, the fate of the Lu family was not hard to predict. Other cultivator families on nearby islands would not pass up such an opportunity. At this moment, Lu Li felt an urgency within him. Chapter 2, Green Spirit Python. After parting ways with Lu Yuling, Lu Li returned to his cave dwelling. Just as he was about to sit down for his meditation practice, a communication jade scroll flew into the cave. Lu Li took the jade scroll and pressed it against his forehead. A voice resonated deep in his mind. "Come to the mountain peak immediately." Hearing this, Lu Li dared not to delay and immediately rose and exited his cave. He then proceeded towards the mountaintop. Although he had seen Patriarch Lu Tand a few times during clan meetings, this solitary summons filled him with some confusion. This was his first visit to the summit. After crossing the waist of the mountain, he saw a large number of green spirit woods planted on both sides of the mountain path. These green spirit woods were arranged in a peculiar pattern, connecting with the Earth's energy and forming the famously formidable green wood earth element Zhuangguang array of the Lu family. This array was a high-grade second-order formation created by the first-generation patriarch. It had protected the Guardian family for hundreds of years, enduring several crises that nearly led to the clan's extinction. Before long, Luli came to a halt in front of a majestic cave dwelling atop the mountain. "Come in." A powerful and sonorous voice sounded as the array in front of the cave opened. Luli slowly walked in. The cave was large and neatly arranged, its floor paved with jade stones. Looking up, he saw an elder in a green robe, standing with his hands clasped behind his back, smiling at him. The elder had white hair and beard and radiated a formidable spiritual pressure, as deep as the abyssal sea. Junior Luli pays his respects to the patriarch. Luli hurriedly stepped forward to give a formal bow, with utmost respect. "Do you know why I have sought you out?" Lu Tan looked at Luli with a probing gaze. "It must be about a clan mission," Luli replied with a smile, slightly embarrassed. As a member of the Lu family, typically one would receive a family mission upon reaching the middle stage of chi cultivation, yet he had chosen to stay and cultivate within the family land until he had reached the 6th layer of chi refinement. "Had I not inspected you in your childhood myself, I might have suspected that some other cultivator had seized your body. Despite your youth, you conduct yourself with great maturity," Lu Tan joked with a smile. Hearing this, Luli suddenly broke out in a cold sweat, realizing one should never underestimate anyone. Fortunately, he had been well behaved since childhood, merely appearing a bit precocious. "May I ask for your direction, Patriarch?" "My duty to contribute to the clan is unquestionable," Luli declared with solemn oath. Lu Tan nodded, obviously pleased. "I'll let your Aunt Yanting arrange this matter." At that moment, Lu Tan suddenly waved his hand, and a large sky blue egg and 2 jade scrolls landed on the stone platform in front. The egg was the size of a human head, surrounded by a green radiance. "What is this?" Luli looked at the giant egg on the platform with surprise. "This egg is from a second-order green spirit python. The one on the side is a second-order artifact refiner's legacy, containing some insights on artifact refining, while the other jade scroll is a water element cultivation technique," Lu Tan explained with a hint of a smile. Looking at the items on the platform, Luli felt a strong desire, but he remained silent for the moment, waiting. "You really know how to keep your composure, young man. Countless others would kill for these items." Lu Tan taunted with a laugh. "I will bestow these upon you." Luli bowed, showing his gratitude. "I dare not refuse such generous gifts from an elder, and I thank you, Patriarch." "All right, take the items and hurry down the mountain." Luli picked up the 2 items and immediately turned and left the cave dwelling. Looking at the retreating figure of Luli, Lu Tan fell into contemplation. "Grow quickly. All I can do for you now is just this much." At that moment, Lu Yuding walked out from the side hall. "Grandfather, you think highly of the Li boy?" Lu Tan sighed. "In this generation, other than Lu Qingqing, it is Lu Li. Let's give him a bit of fate. The other families are becoming more and more restless, just waiting for this old man to pass away. Granddaughter has reached the complete 12th layer of chi cultivation. With one more foundation establishment pill, there is an 80% chance of success, securing the future to protect the family for another 100 years, Lu Yuding said through gritted teeth, voicing her inner thoughts again. Lu Tan simply shook his head, his expression growing desolate. Lu Li returned to the interior of his cave dwelling, feeling somewhat heavy-hearted. Meeting the patriarch this time gave him an eerie feeling. The value of these 3 items was not insignificant. He assumed the patriarch must have also summoned Sister King, making him wonder what she was given. Once his emotions had settled, he took out the cultivation technique Jade Scroll. Vast Sea Convoid Technique, the Chi Cultivation Chapter. A message surged into the depths of his mind. After a moment, Luli had fully accepted the cultivation technique and slowly set down the Jade Scroll. "It's actually a high-level technique." Luli's face showed delight. His ancestor also possessed the water spirit root, so this must be the cultivation technique the ancestor practiced. Once mastered, this technique would grant him immense mana, far stronger than that of the water cloud technique. There was also a secret technique within, the triple spirit refinement technique, capable of greatly purifying mana, truly extraordinary. Finally, it included a water element sword technique, the azure water light splitting sword technique, which was also quite formidable. There were also some annotations and precautions. The ancestor really thought of everything. Luli complimented inwardly. The next day, at dawn, Luli made his way to the household affairs hall early in the morning. Inside the great hall, he saw Lu Yuding still lazily leaning against the chair, and he greeted her with clasped hands. "Third aunt, this junior has come to receive a family task. The tasks are all listed here, take your pick." Lu Yuding, without looking up, tossed over a list made of beast skin. Luli carefully examined the contents. Team up for a year of sea demon beast hunting. Oversee the Bright Sun Island market for 2 years. Set out to sea in search of purple sungrass. Guard Golden Kylan Island for 3 years. Third aunt, I have made my choice. I'll take the task of guarding Golden Kylan Island. Lu Li said respectfully. This task suited him perfectly, as creating spirit beasts, switching cultivation techniques, and experimenting with the demon beast refining pot would all require a great amount of time. Without much further discussion, Lu Yuding handed him a jade scroll. Go to the island within 15 days for the handover. Some precautions are in the jade scroll. Lu Li took the jade scroll and walked out. Halfway there, he saw a burly man in his 30s walking toward him. This person was Lu Heng, with a cultivation level around the 7th layer of chi refinement. Lu Heng greeted Lu Li with a hearty smile. Sixth brother, here to take on a task? How about hunting demon beasts together with your second brother? Lu Li smiled. I have already taken on a task of island guarding. I'm afraid I can't join second brother in hunting demon beasts at sea. You're still as stable as ever. Guarding the island doesn't pay much, it's only good for safety. Lu Heng looked a bit perplexed. This sixth brother had gained some reputation within the family. It was surprising how quickly he almost caught up to him in cultivation in just a few years. After chatting a little more, the two said their goodbyes. In the following days, apart from studying the Vest Sea Convoy technique meticulously, he went to the family's artifact hall to exchange for some low-level artifact refining materials and some demon beast carcasses. Then, he visited his parents' cave and left a message. His father Lu Chen and mother Yi Yugen were both chi refinement 10th level cultivators, both stationed on Bright Sun Island, guarding the family's shop. Thinking of his father Lu Chen, Lu Li sighed softly. His parents were always very good to him since he was young. His father had been injured in the lung meridian during a training mishap and hadn't recovered to this day. They placed all their hopes for foundation establishment on him. 10 days later, at dawn. Greeting the morning light, Lu Li mounted his escaping light and flew towards a dock on the west side of Mystic Moon Island. Apart from the cultivators of the Lu family, there were many ordinary mortals on Mystic Moon Island, exceeding 200,000. Most of these people's ancestors were cultivators of the Lu family, and generations have thrived here, with descendants possessing cultivation potential returning to the family. At this moment, the western dock was bustling with people preparing to fish at sea. On the other side, there was a clear distinction with the cultivators' residences. Just then, a streak of escaping light dashed from afar, drawing the frequent attention of a group of commoners. Grandpa, is that an immortal master? So amazing. On the dock, a little girl asked crisply. The elder beside her also looked on with a nostalgic expression. Once the escaping light settled, an elegant figure was revealed. Lu Li surveyed his surroundings while hovering in midair, then withdrew his flying sword and landed on a platform by the sea. Senior, are you setting out to sea? Seeing him approach, a young cultivator on the dock greeted him, with a cultivation level around the early phase of chi refinement. Off to Golden Kylan Island. Lu Li nodded. These cultivators were mostly low-level guest elders of the family or Lu family members with inadequate talent. The young cultivator then went to a green wooden boat and manipulated a spell to activate the controlling array. Senior, please. Lu Li leapt up and landed firmly at the bow of the boat. Soon, the wooden boat sped away like an arrow loosed from its bow. Chapter 3 Hatching the Beast Egg. The wooden boat was not large, but it moved swiftly, propelled by the spiritual stones and an array. The hull was constructed from a type of ironstone wood, which was extremely durable. It could easily withstand small waves, but it would likely be insufficient against an attack from demon beasts. Lu Li stood at the bow, the sea breeze caressing his face, carrying a trace of warmth that made him feel drowsy. The air still carried a humid, salty scent. Not far away, various seabirds searched for food on the sea surface, making chirping noises. Although it wasn't his first time seeing the ocean, each encounter was still awe-inspiring. The vast, infinite sea was calm yet teeming with life. Beneath the sea was even more fascinating, with various demon beasts roaming and abundant spiritual materials. But for human clan cultivators, the ocean depths were still largely inaccessible. Years ago, out of curiosity, he had stealthily dived to the seabed around Mystic Moon Island, but at just 200 meters deep, the pressure became unbearable for him. Several hours later, a small island joyfully appeared in view. The island was not large, about 20 miles or so in diameter, with lush vegetation and numerous birds. On Golden Kylan Island, there was a first-grade mid-level spirit vein beneath Sunset Peak on the west side of the island. Before even getting close, Lu Li sent a communication jade scroll toward Sunset Peak, shooting it forward. Shortly after, a streak of light darted from the distance. A middle-aged cultivator in a black robe appeared instantly by the seaside. Mr. Lu has finally arrived. I have been waiting for a long time, Wang Ping said with a smile on his face. It's been several years since we last met. Mr. Wang still looks as graceful as ever, having broken through to the 6th layer of chi refinement, Lu Li replied with a smile. This man was a guest elder of his family, and they had met a few times before. Haha. I am nothing compared to Mr. Lu's extraordinary talents. Are you here to check on the spiritual objects at Sunset Peak? Lu Li nodded. According to family rules, this was a necessary step to prevent any potential disputes. While talking, the two of them flew towards Sunset Peak on the island. Soon, they reached an array at the base of the mountain. Wang Ping took out a black token. He cast several magic spells, and the token quickly emitted a white light that shot into the array, causing ripples to spread through the big formation and revealing a pathway. This is the control token for this array. I will hand it over to Mr. Lu, he said, passing the token over. Lu Li did not hesitate and took it directly. They walked straight into the array, and along the way, Wang Ping took the opportunity to explain it. This array is called the Earth Spirit Trapping Array, a first-grade high-quality array with impressive defensive capabilities. You can simply activate its defensive functions using the control token. Mr. Lu just needs to get more accustomed to it, he added. Lu Li nodded. This array was crucial for his safety in the coming years and could not be neglected. The two continued walking up the mountain. Sunset Peak was not large, covering only a few miles, but it was lush and vibrant. The spring at the mountain peak flowed slowly down to the foot of the mountain. Near the middle of the mountain, there were several acres of spirit fields filled with spirit tooth rice, though the plants were still just seedlings. Apart from the spirit fields, to the left of the mountain peak, there were several spiritual mulberry trees, whose leaves could feed some spiritual silkworms. With these spirit trees, the spiritual silkworms produced a significant amount of silk each year. The silk could be used to create mid-grade first-order defensive magical artifacts and also brought some income to the family. After Wang Ping had shown Lu Li around, he initiated a conversation. Have you inspected everything, fellow Taoist? If everything is in order, I will return to finalize the handover. Lu Li nodded. Then, please do as you wish, fellow Taoist. Please forgive me for not being a more attentive host. After saying their goodbyes, Wang Ping flew towards the base of the mountain. Watching him leave the array, Lu Li immediately took out the controlling token and began refining it. He soon had initially refined the token, and following that, he cast several controlling magic spells. The token shone brightly in an instant. At that moment, the array began to shift rapidly, with the surroundings wind and clouds transforming and some illusory objects appearing to shift places. In no time, it transformed into a different appearance, with some critical points of the array also instantly changing positions. After finishing all this, Lu Li slowly exhaled. Going forward, as long as he spent some time each day refining the token, he would become proficient and be able to unleash the full power of the array. It was also out of his caution, as one could never guarantee that the previous cultivator who used the array hadn't left any traps behind. Caution is the parent of safety. Afterwards, he flew to the top of the mountain and entered a simple cave dwelling. The cave was not large and was furnished very simply. The main hall had only 2 meditation cushions and a stone table. On each side, there was a spirit beast room and an artifact refining room. First, he went into the spirit beast room, which was filled with a unique odor, and the floor still had remains of spirit grass that beasts like to eat. Lu Li first cleaned the floor, then he took out a small nest and carefully placed the green spirit python egg inside. After completing all this, he also placed several water attribute spirit stones and a few pieces of ice jade around the beast egg. At that moment, thin strands of spiritual energy began to gather around the egg, then slowly seeped into the shell, which was very pleasing to him. The green spirit python, as a second-order spirit beast, had a 50% chance that its offspring could break through to the foundation establishment stage, and with proper nurturing, it would be a great aid in the future. If it was the offspring of a third-order demon beast, it would definitely reach the foundation establishment stage, and there was even a 30% chance it could become a third-order demon beast. Of course, some few lucky individuals among the demon beasts could mutate or even surpass their parents. As a water attribute spirit beast, its strength increased significantly in the ocean, which is why the Lu family ancestor managed to suppress a family for over 100 years at the foundation establishment mid stage. According to family records, a snake turns into a python in 100 years, and into a lesser dragon in 500 years. As a dragon seed, its strength was extraordinary. Not to mention the hornless dragon in the depths of the endless sea domain, its divine skills were impressive, turning seas and rivers upside down in the ocean. Moments later, he gathered his scattered thoughts. Then, he walked up to the beast egg, bit his finger to squeeze out a drop of essence blood, and then started to inscribe mysterious runes on the egg. In just a few breaths, the surface of the egg was covered with blood runes. After completing all this, Lu Li stopped and quietly observed. The surface of the beast egg began to emit a greenish glow, similar to breathing, while the blood runes on the surface gradually dimmed, being absorbed into the shell. This was a blood covenant control technique. After just 49 days, the ritual would be complete. The hatched spirit beast would be utterly loyal, unable to betray or dissolve the blood covenant. If the master died, the spirit beast would also perish, which was extremely domineering. Such a technique could only be successfully refined while the spirit beast was still naive and ignorant. After everything was done, Luli left the spirit beast room and came to the main hall to sit down cross-legged. With a thought, the beast refining pot appeared in front of him. Chapter 4, Refining Monsters Illusion. Spirit Luli slowly channeled his mana into the mystic item pot. He watched it slowly levitate in front of him, emitting a faint light. Then, 2 golden runes flashed into his mind. Although he did not recognize them, he instantly understood their meaning within his mind. Mystic item illusion spirit. Luli's face showed a contemplative expression. Next, he used his divine sense to open the mouth of the pot, and with a pat on his storage bag, the corpse of a large demon beast appeared on the ground. It was the body of a crab demon at the mid-stage of chi cultivation, still exuding a condensed evil spirit, clearly having not been dead for long. Its 2 front pincers looked formidable and awe-inspiring. Luli aimed the mouth of the pot at the crab demon's corpse and with a thought, activated the mystic item rune. The demon corpse slowly drifted toward the mystic item pot, shrinking as it neared the mouth until it was but the size of a fist and completely entered the pot. He picked up the mystic item pot, looked at the bottom, and there lay a miniaturized version of the demon beast's corpse, quite intriguing. Luli covered the mouth of the pot and once more invoked the mystic item rune. The mystic item pot trembled slightly, its light flickering unpredictably. Soon enough, it ceased any movement. Looking at the mystical treasure in front of him without any noticeable change, he shook the pot with his hand and felt a slight swaying of liquid through his hand. Just as I thought. Seeing his guess confirmed, a hint of joy appeared on Luli's face. He slowly opened the mouth of the pot. The crab demon's corpse had already vanished, leaving behind only a pool of clear water. The water was clear and bright, with strands of mist rising from it, carrying a refreshing fragrance. Such a rapid process, the demon beast had been transformed into a pool of clear water in just a moment. Luli was quite astonished. What followed was to verify what this spring water could do. He dared not taste it himself. Should it contain other peculiar malevolent auras or unknown substances, the risk could far outweigh the benefits. He stood up and walked out of his cave, flying toward the spirit fields on the mountainside. Before long, he arrived above a ridge. The air was filled with a fresh fragrance, mixed with the scent of the earth, which was exceedingly comforting. These spirit tooth rice seedlings were of a medium grade, containing some spiritual energy when mature. Long-term consumption could aid in chi cultivation, making it a hot commodity in the cultivation world. Luli squatted down in front of a seedling and cautiously poured the spring water from the pot, watering the nearest few seedlings. After completing these tasks, he went out to catch a wild monkey and brought it up the mountain. There was no shortage of wild animals on Golden Kylan Island where thousands of mortals lived. Holding the wild beast by the nape, he walked into the artifact refining room within the cave. The half-human tall gray monkey in front of him was shivering in fear. Not waiting for its resistance, he forced a few mouthfuls of spiritual liquid into the creature's mouth. It coughed and teared up, looking at him with a face full of fear. Afterward, Luli released the creature and, setting up a restraint rune, left the artifact refining room. Now, all that remained was to observe quietly. The next day, early in the morning, Luli went directly to the artifact refining room only to see a wild monkey crouching in a corner, still lively despite having not eaten for a long time. Upon seeing Luli enter, it immediately started to scream shrilly, sheer terror on its face. Eh? Luli felt somewhat surprised, sensing a faint demon energy from the wild monkey that was not easy to perceive without close observation. It was flickering in and out of visibility like a rootless weed that could disappear at any moment. It was fortunate he hadn't impulsively drunk the spiritual liquid yesterday. Pollution of his own mana would have been very troublesome. It seemed the spiritual liquid was harmless to demon beasts and might even have considerable benefits. Later, Luli stopped concerning himself with it and stepped out of his cave, approaching the spirit fields. He focused his gaze and saw that the seedlings which had been watered with spirit water didn't show much change from the previous day, except they seemed a bit more vigorous. Well, let's experiment again later. It seems that the spiritual liquid is mainly useful for demon beasts and doesn't have an obvious effect on spirit grass. Luli didn't insist further. Just as he prepared to return to his cave, he saw several figures dressed as fishermen gathered at the base of Sunset Peak, walking around outside the array. He frowned and leaped down the mountain in a single bound. Luli deactivated the array and stepped out, only to see an old man dressed in a wealthy merchant's clothes leading a few middle-aged men standing on an open field. There was also a young woman accompanying the elder. "What brings you here?" Luli asked indifferently. Liu King, looking at Luli emerging, showed a face filled with panic. "We simple country folks have disturbed the immortal master, Truly, we deserve death. When Immortal Master Wang left, he mentioned once that a new Immortal Master would came to protect Golden Kylan Island. We've taken the liberty to come and pay our respects. After speaking, he respectfully presented some local products. I appreciate your sentiment. I am a cultivator of the Lu family, stationed here for the next 3 years. Unless it's a matter of great importance, do not come to disturb me. Lu Li nodded. Just as he was about to leave, the elder cautiously spoke up. This is my granddaughter Zhao Dai, she is nimble and handy. May I know if the Immortal Master could use an attendant? He even pulled the young woman to his side. She was slender, not weathered by the elements like the fisherman, her complexion slightly flushed, gazing expectantly at Lu Li. Lu Li smiled wryly, no need. I am quite accustomed to being free and easy. He promptly refused and then turned to step back into the array, fully aware of the elder's suggestion. Though he was not an ascetic cultivator, ordinary mortal women were not within his consideration. Seeing Lu Li refuse, both the elder and the young woman appeared disappointed. Sigh. Zhao Dai does not have such good fortune. This Lu family Immortal Master seems to be a paragon of integrity, quite different from Immortal Master Wang, and also much younger. Tears swirled in Zhao Dai's eyes. Grandfather, I understand, I shouldn't have entertained such inappropriate thoughts. After Lu Li returned to his cave, he eagerly headed to the spirit beast room. The beast egg amongst the pile of spirit stones seemed more vibrant than yesterday, and the spiritual energy around it had increased. He approached the beast egg and again etched the blood sacrificial rune into it. After the rune slowly reseeded into the egg, he took out the refining demon pot and slowly poured some spiritual liquid onto the beast egg. The egg began to emit a faint light, as if coming to life, and the spiritual liquid subsequently seeped into the egg, with Lu Li even sensing a hint of joy from something small within. Time flies like an arrow, and 5 days later, in the spirit beast room, Lu Li stood in front of the beast egg, which now had a much stronger aura and its life energy was extremely vigorous. The spiritual liquid in the refining demon pot had finally been used up. This greatly surprised him. For the past few days, he had been watering the beast egg with spiritual liquid every day, each time until it couldn't absorb any more. The conversion efficiency was incredibly astonishing. Most of the essence of demon beasts lies in their flesh, which explains their extremely powerful bodies. There were few ways for human clan cultivators to deal with demon beast corpses. Aside from crafting magic artifacts and medicine pills, the only other use was to directly consume their flesh. However, this would waste a lot of spiritual energy within the demon corpses, and the cultivator would only gain a slight amount of mana after consumption, with an efficacy of less than 20%. In comparison, the refinement process of the refining demon pot utilized demon corpses with a much higher efficiency. The effect was practically heaven-defying. However, some spiritual energy would still dissipate upon a demon beast's death, so it was impossible to achieve 100% utilization, although he estimated it might be around 50 to 60%. With this thought, a rush of exhilaration surged through him. In the future, as long as he had a large number of demon beast corpses, his life-bound spirit beast would become one of the biggest supports on his cultivation path. There might even be some hope for the green spirit python transforming into a dragon. However, demon beast corpses were quite rare, and purchasing them required a substantial amount of spirit stones. Setting aside whether there were enough spirit stones, buying too many might raise suspicions, which could be problematic. It seemed he needed to give this careful consideration. Chapter 5 Two runes. Lu Li came to the main hall, sat down on a cushion, and took out the demon refining pot. He then pulled out a sea serpent corpse from his storage bag. After aiming the pot's mouth at the serpent-like demon beast on the ground, he activated the demon refining pot, and quickly the body was absorbed inside. Next, he activated the second rune, Illusion Spirit, and then began to quietly wait. After a while, there was no reaction at all. Huh? Something seems off. Could there be something wrong with this rune? Or is it restricted by cultivation level? He directly opened the pot to look inside, only to see that the giant snake's body had completely disappeared. What? What exactly happened? Lu Li grew somewhat puzzled. It seemed like a success, or had he done something wrong? He studied again for a while but discovered no clues, deciding to give up and try again later. He then put away the wondrous treasure, and at that moment, something bizarre occurred. With a buzzing noise, a large demon snake materialized around Lu Li, enveloping him entirely. The giant viper was lifelike, emitting waves of evil aura, each of its scales clearly visible. At a thought from Lu Li, the giant snake immediately began to move, its demon body shifting capriciously with his will, extremely nimble, as though it was his own body. This is amazing. Lu Li's face was filled with surprise, his whole mind shaking. At that moment, he suddenly understood the profound utility of the Illusion Spirit rune, a perfect match with the demon refining rune. With it, one could transform into various demon beasts to roam the ocean depths, explore immortal mansions and search for spiritual objects, slay demon beasts, then refine them into spiritual liquid. The spiritual liquid in turn nurtured the green spirit python. As the creatures grew stronger, they could go on to slay more demon beasts. This was simply a perfect closed loop. As long as the life-bound spirit beast had a profound base, endlessly fed with spiritual liquid, it might even transform into a dragon seed. The giant viper, or even the hornless dragon, and with the accompanying dragon power, the entire sea could become his own garden. Golden core and nascent soul were no longer out of reach. Luli's heart couldn't stop trembling. He felt as though a glorious pathway lay at his feet. Steady, steady. He took a deep breath, slowly calming his excited heart. The treasure was simply too astounding. It wasn't time to explore the deep sea yet. He forcefully suppressed the restlessness in his heart. It would be better to wait until after the life-bound spirit beast's egg had hatched. Having a companion at the bottom of the sea would be beneficial. The seabed was no safe place. It teemed with numerous demon beasts, and without sufficient preparations, one might end up as demon beast food. It was a good time to switch cultivation techniques since practicing the sword techniques also required a lot of time. As long as he cultivated the azure water light splitting sword technique to a minor level of accomplishment, his attack power would greatly increase, and his safety in the seabed would be much improved. After some time, Luli thought to exit the transformative state, and the giant snake immediately turned into a green mark, imprinting itself on the demon refining pot. If he didn't need to transform into this beast again in the future, he could simply refine it, which was very convenient. Having stored the demon refining pot, he then began to prepare for meditation and cultivation. He took out the vast sea convoid technique chi cultivation chapter from the Jade Scroll and started to comprehend it carefully. He had been studying this technique for over 10 days and had already grasped all the subtleties of the mid-stage chi cultivation. Next, he would officially begin the switch in cultivation, and because both were water element cultivation techniques, the transition was relatively easy. The heart as vast as Kun, the origin as one. Luli carefully pondered on the core principles of the technique, took a deep breath, and then began to practice according to the first level of chi cultivation. A large amount of spiritual energy from the air surged toward him, and his original mana quickly became the new technique's mana. The newborn mana was very weak, but it was exceptionally pure and resilient. As he continued with his practice, this mana rapidly grew stronger. Not much time had passed before Luli's breath diminished by a segment, reverting back to the 5th level of chi cultivation. The newly born mana had also grown stronger. Having already reached the 1st level of chi cultivation, he then began to operate his cultivation technique. 10 days later, inside the cave, Luli sat cross-legged upon a meditation cushion, his eyes slightly closed, his body emitting a strong and vast aura. He felt the surging mana within his body. The 5th level of the vast sea convoid technique had already been mastered. It was simply a change of cultivation path and not very difficult. The 5th level of the vast sea convoid technique was much more powerful than the 6th level of the water cloud jutsu he had practiced before, but this still did not satisfy him. Having already experienced a breakthrough once, he believed this time should naturally follow suit. Thinking thus, he began to take action and took out an exquisite porcelain bottle. He poured out the chi cultivation pills inside, only 2 were left, and he threw them all into his mouth. Gulp. As soon as he swallowed them, the mana within his body immediately began to boil, letting out a roaring sound. He began to fully operate his cultivation technique, aiming to advance to the 6th level of chi cultivation. Not long after, his own breath suddenly increased by a large margin. The cultivation technique began to slowly operate along a new trajectory, and he returned to the 6th level of chi cultivation. A faint smile appeared on Luli's face as he explored the mana within his body, which gave him a great surprise. It had become more than twice as strong as before. Indeed, a high-level cultivation technique was truly extraordinary, he thought to himself. Over these 10 days, besides diligently converting to the vast sea convoid technique, he also went daily to inscribe blood sacrificial runes on the beast egg and water it with spiritual liquid. After these days of effort, the spiritual energy and the vitality within the beast egg had become even stronger. Not only that, but now Luli could fully feel the little one's presence. Every time it felt his approach, it would convey a joyful emotion. Everything was developing methodically. Following that, Luli consecrated the array formation token anew, deepening his control over the array. Then he left the cave and came to an open space at the peak top. He took out a mid-grade flying sword, the Aminikaz. The sword was about 3 feet long, a sky blue color throughout, covered in mysterious runes, and the tip hinted at a touch of sharpness. The Aminikaz was a gift from his mother Yukan when he had just broken through to the 4th level of chi cultivation, accompanied by a mid-grade defensive magical artifact, the Green Origin Cauldron, with quite remarkable defensive power. This sword was also among the top in the mid-grade magic artifacts, fitting for his current use. As for controlling a high-grade magic artifact during the middle stages of chi cultivation requiring more mana and unable to be stimulated to the utmost, in combat, it did not offer much of an advantage. With one defensive and one offensive top mid-grade magic artifacts, this was also top-level equipment among the family's cultivators. Generally, defensive magical artifacts were several times more expensive than attack magic tools, and among them, cauldron-type magic artifacts were the priciest, nearly reaching the same value as common high-grade magic artifacts. Then, Luli began to practice the new cultivation technique, the Azure Water Light Splitting Sword Technique. This sword technique was divided into 4 levels: Introductory, Minor Achievement, Major Achievement, and Perfection. The Jade Scroll described that upon reaching perfection, the sword light could split into 72 strands, arranging into the earth evil muddled sky array, possessing incredible might, and the final move where the sword light unified was extraordinary. Luli began to stimulate the amina cause, and saw that sword shadows began to permeate the open space, and before long, a fierce wind began to howl, converging into a vortex of spiritual energy. Having a few years of practice with other sword techniques as a base, mastering this sword technique was quite smooth. He had already reached the introductory level in just half a day. With the Azure Water Light Splitting Sword Technique activated, the amina cause emitted a brilliant blue light, its tip exuding extreme sharpness, rapidly pulsating in a chilling manner. Luli nodded in satisfaction. After reaching the introductory level, he only needed to persist in daily practice, which was a matter that couldn't be rushed. Once he achieved minor achievement, its might would greatly increase, becoming yet another ace in his hand. Next, he continued to practice the sword technique for a while until more than half of his mana was depleted. Then he began to sit in meditation and cultivate his chi. Cultivation is like rowing upstream, only with daily, uninterrupted toil can one bravely push forward and climb upwards. He had practiced this way for many years, and it had long become a habit. Chapter 6, First Journey into the Depths of the Sea. Time flew like an arrow, and in a blink of an eye, more than a month had passed. During this time, Luli would carve the blood sacrificial rune and water the beast egg every day. He also practiced his cultivation technique and sword technique, leading a very fulfilling life. At noon, Luli walked into the spiritual beast room and carefully examined the beast egg in front of him. The egg radiated a bright translucence all around it, its life force growing stronger and more vigorous, feeling like a blazing flame even from a distance. The blood sacrificial rune had already reappeared, covering the entire shell, looking very mysterious. Due to the long-term consumption of essence blood, his complexion had turned somewhat pale, but fortunately, it had completely ended, and he would recover well after several months of rest. Luli stepped forward, picked up a few discarded spirit stones from around the beast egg, replaced them with new ones, and then left the spiritual beast room. Afterward, he came to the edge of the spirit field outside his cave, and activated the Cloud Rain skill magic spell. A breeze passed by, and clouds quickly gathered in the sky, soon followed by a light drizzle of rain. The young spirit plants, nourished by the rain, appeared even fresher and more luscious. Having done all this, he began to practice his sword technique again, aiming to reach a minor level of mastery soon. The days slowly slipped away like this. One day, Luli returned to the spiritual beast room. The scene before him made him frown. The spiritual light on the beast egg had dimmed considerably, and even the flame of life had weakened a lot. These abnormalities left him very surprised. He surveyed the surroundings. The few water attribute spirit stones he had placed a few days before were still brimming with spiritual energy. This made him even more puzzled. Could it be? Suddenly, Luli thought of a possibility. Several days passed by, and indeed, the changes in the beast egg confirmed his suspicion. He stood inside the spiritual beast room with a somewhat odd expression on his face. The condition of the green spirit python now vaguely resembled something Luli had read about in an ancient book, The Birth of a Beast King. It is said that some demon beasts are born with astonishing potential and, after hatching, will become demon beast kings. The demon beast king not only possesses incredible strength, surpassing its peers, but also holds a sliver of hope for its bloodline's ancestry to be restored. However, this challenge is quite difficult. Failure to overcome it would result in a stillborn. Luli watched the beast egg quietly, his face starting to grow tense. It seemed that the spiritual liquid had greatly enhanced the potential of the beast egg, giving it a chance to become a beast king. If the hatching of the beast egg failed, the loss would be significant. This challenge could only be faced by the egg itself. Luli had done almost everything he could. In the following days, the life force of the beast egg continued to decay. Luli stood in front of the beast egg, feeling extremely anxious. The shell began to lose its luster, and the flame of life seemed to flicker like a dying flame, about to extinguish at any moment. If not for the faint fluctuations he could still sense, he might have thought it was a dead egg already. Luli sighed, It seemed the green spirit python would not make it, and his considerable efforts would be in vain, leaving him temporarily dejected. He turned and walked out. In the following month, he visited the beast egg daily, which remained in that half-dead state. Luli had completely lost hope. It seemed this was a failed hatching. One day, early in the morning, Luli came to the spiritual beast room again to check on the situation. Suddenly, he felt something unusual inside the beast egg. The flame of life twitched slightly. He almost doubted his own eyes, then began to hold his breath and concentrate on the beast egg. Indeed, after a short while, the flame of life inside the beast egg twitched once more, then surged significantly, reaching half of its original strength. Success! Luli was instantly exhilarated. His long days of effort finally paid off. At that moment, a small whirlwind suddenly started within the spiritual beast room. The spiritual energy around began to rapidly converge and slowly entered into the beast egg. Hungry. At the same time, a thought suddenly emerged deep within Luli's mind, which he perceived clearly. Without hesitation, he took out the refining demon pot and refined another demon corpse. Before long, a portion of spiritual liquid was formed once again. Afterward, he walked over to the beast egg and slowly poured the spiritual liquid onto the shell. Soon, a satisfied consciousness transmitted into his mind. Luli smiled. It seemed the other party had completely taken shape, and its intelligence was not low either. Worthy of being a demon beast king. Having done all this, he then walked out. In the following days, besides familiarizing himself with the arrays and practicing sword techniques every day, he watered the beast egg. That day, when Luli came to the spirit beast room, he noticed the life force of the beast egg had become several times more vigorous than before. It radiated a translucent brilliance like colored glaze and even emitted a faint spiritual pressure. It looked like the spirit beast was about to be born. After confirming this information, Luli couldn't help but feel overjoyed. He sat cross-legged on the ground, quietly waiting. Several hours passed, and suddenly there was a light crack sound, and a few cracks appeared on the top of the shell. Before long, a pitch-black snake's head emerged, flickering its forked tongue as it looked around. When the little snake saw Luli, its eyes revealed an excited light. A sense of closeness also came from the depths of Luli's mind, and he quietly observed the spirit beast. Then the little snake swiftly broke through the shell, and its whole body came out. It started to bite the eggshell next to it and gobbled it up in no time at all. After eating, its body suddenly grew a section, transforming into a small-sized python about the thickness of an arm and half the height of a person. Then it crawled over to Luli and coiled around him. Luli carefully felt the spirit beast's breath. It was born at the 4th level of chi cultivation, breath astonishingly powerful. From now on, you'll be called Iron Pillar. He immediately took out the spiritual beast bag and collected it inside. The other party did not resist at all. In the following months, Luli fed the spirit beast and practiced cultivation techniques and sword techniques every day. Until recently, when the spiritual liquid was completely depleted, the green spirit python also underwent great changes. Luli stood outside the cave on the mountain peak, carefully sizing up the green spirit python. The body of the python was more than a jong long, about the thickness of an adult's lower leg. The pitch-black scales all over its body shone with a dim light, appearing to have strong defense. The python's head was triangular-shaped, and at this moment, it was flickering its tongue, its pair of cold eyes causing one to shudder. Months had passed, the green spirit python had reached the 5th level of chi cultivation, and the surrounding spiritual pressure was truly astonishing. At that moment, Luli took out a Minakaze and began practicing his sword technique. With mana energized, the surrounding spiritual energy began to ripple, and several hours later, a Minakaze suddenly blazed with light, in the blink of an eye turning into 12 sword shadows, forming a small sword array. The sword technique has finally achieved a minor level of proficiency. A few days ago, he had felt a bottleneck, and today he had indeed broken through. Nightfall brought a bright moon and sparse stars, with silence all around. Luli arrived at the northwestern edge of Golden Kylan Island, above a coast. This sea region belonged to the periphery of the Sunset Dragon Sea. Getting closer to the north meant gradually going deeper into the inner sea, while the south was known as the Land of Ruins, where the spiritual energy was chaotic and extremely dangerous. He walked to the seaside and with a leap, his entire body plunged straight into the sea. The moment he entered the water, he felt a coldness envelop his body, a salty and damp smell flooding his nose and mouth. Below the sea's surface was even more dark and obscure. Luli quickly operated the water-repelling technique until a spiritual light enveloped him, making him feel much better. He swam gradually deeper, occasionally turning his head to observe the surroundings. Now and then, he could feel some fish swimming past him. Around him, seaweed and various plants revealed their fine details under the sweep of his divine sense. As he delved deeper, and around 400 meters deep, he felt the spiritual energy depleting very rapidly. The pressure around him also suddenly increased a lot. He knew this was probably the limit for normal cultivators. Cultivators with full chi cultivation and those above foundation establishment could definitely dive deeper, but in comparison to the tens of thousands of meters deep ocean, it was still far from enough. Thus, the ocean was the forbidden area for human clan cultivators, and at the bottom of the sea, human clan cultivators could usually only exert 70 to 80% of their strength, which was very dangerous when encountering a demon beast of the same level. But for Lu Li, this was an opportunity sent from heaven. The entire vast ocean would become his hunting ground. After testing it out, Lu Li didn't push himself further. He directly operated the demon refining pot, and his whole body suddenly transformed. A huge demon snake appeared at the bottom of the sea, and at that moment, he felt the pressure on his body suddenly lessen, everything around becoming much more familiar. Lu Li, controlling the demon body, continued to swim towards the deeper parts of the sea bottom. Chapter 7 Undersea Exploration. Lu Li finally reached the bottom of the sea, about 2,000 meters below the surface. He chose a direction and swam towards the northwest of Golden Kylan Island. His first entry into the sea filled him with excitement. Everything before him was a novel sight. Looking around, he saw plants like seaweed and seagrass everywhere, along with small hills formed by corals. Various fish and shrimp scattered away upon sensing his presence. The sound of undercurrents filled his ears. Lu Li was not in a hurry and continued to swim forward, searching. But after several hours, nothing had changed around him. Apart from the seaweed and rocks, and the usual fish and shrimp, not a trace of spiritual energy or the shadow of a demon beast could be seen. This puzzled him. He searched for another hour, still without any findings. Could it be that the direction is wrong, or is this area lacking in spiritual energy? Just as Lu Li was about to turn back, a fluctuation of spiritual energy suddenly came from several dozen meters ahead. Huh? He slowly swam over for a closer look. A round fruit was resting quietly above a trench on the seabed. The spirit fruit was snow-white all over, swaying gently with the currents, and emitted a faint glow. Lu Li approached and picked the spirit fruit, feeling a chill spread from his fingertips as soon as he touched it. Could this be the ice spirit fruit? Lu Li was instantly overjoyed. He often visited the family's scripture pavilion and knew a great deal about various spirit fruits and spirit roots. The ice spirit fruit grew in large numbers on the subsea shelves, absorbing the essence of the sun, moon, and earth to mature. After maturing for 3 years, consuming it would enhance one's physical potential, enrich the essence blood, and significantly aid chi cultivation. Because seafloor demon beasts often ate ice spirit fruits, their bodies were astonishingly powerful, and even their shed skin could be used to craft various magic artifacts. This ice spirit fruit must have just matured, it's only of low quality. Lu Li sensed the aura of the fruit and thought to himself. If the fruit were not harvested after 3 years, it would continue to absorb the essence of the seabed. In 5 years, it would rise to middle grade, and after 10 years, it would become a high-grade spirit fruit, by which time cultivators at the foundation establishment level would find it beneficial. As for ice spirit fruits older than 10 years, they were rare even on the outer edges of the sea. Not bad, at least there's some gain. Perhaps this trench holds more than just this one spirit fruit. Lu Li stored the fruit away and continued to swim forward. He moved along the seabed trench, slowly expanding his divine sense to scan the surroundings. Now that he had made a find, he was no longer in a rush. Sure enough, before long, another ripple of spiritual energy reached him. Lu Li's spirits lifted instantly. Just as he was about to go collect the spirit fruit, suddenly, a dark figure shot out from 100 meters ahead, towards the northwest. He turned his head to look. A turtle demon, about the size of a jonglong, charged towards the spirit fruit. The demon was entirely black, with thick limbs, and its eyes were full of a water evil aura, showing it was battle-hardened. And judging by its stance, it had already noticed the spirit fruit. It had rushed over because an interloper had appeared. The turtle demon looked fierce, and before it even got close, it spewed a stream of water evil aura towards Lu Li, as quick as lightning. Lu Li saw this and calmly summoned the Amina Cause, a flash of sword light bursting from his mouth and slashing towards the turtle demon's head like thunder. Even though the pressure at the seafloor diminished the power of the sword technique, it was still too much for a meager chi refinement 4th level demon beast to resist. Sure enough, the sword light flared and swiftly cut through the turtle demon's water evil aura, then carried on, undiminished, heading straight for the opponent's head. Before it could even attempt to escape, its fearsome face was turned to pieces, and its body slowly sank down. Lu Li immediately went forward to collect the demon beast corpse with the chi refinement gourd, then transformed into the appearance of a sea turtle. After a slight movement, he was able to control it with ease, as this demon's body was smaller, making it a much smaller target at the sea bottom. He then swam towards the deep sea trench below and saw another ice spirit fruit growing at the bottom of the trench. Indeed, Another one. It seems this trench is somehow connected to the spirit energy veins of the seafloor. After collecting the spirit fruit, a chill noticeably stronger than before passed from his fingers. It seems this spirit fruit has grown for more than 5 years. It's a mid-grade spirit fruit. Luli's face brightened with joy as he stowed it away in his storage bag. These 2 spirit fruits were worth at least 20 spirit stones in total, a profit that he found quite satisfactory. He continued to search along the trench. Several hours passed, and during his exploration of this dark channel, he found 5 more lower-grade spirit fruits and 2 mid-grade spirit fruits. It's been quite a while since I came out. It seems today's gains will have to suffice. Just as he was preparing to swim back, suddenly, an immensely oppressive feeling came from behind, causing all the hairs on his body to stand on end instantly, and a sense of crisis swelled up from the bottom of his heart. Luli turned his head to look, and his soul nearly fled in terror. Damn it, how could a giant-toothed whale appear here? He saw a massive sea beast, several dozen jong long and pitch black, slowly swimming forward. Its gaping maw was much larger than Luli's demon form, and its pair of eyes, like grinding plates, emitted a ghostly and cold glint. This beast was a deep-sea barbaric beast, different from demon beasts in that they could not transform and their intelligence was low. They acted purely on instinct. In the sea bottom, there were many such barbaric beasts, and even some demon beasts dared not provoke them lightly. Luli lay quietly buried in the ocean floor's silt, feeling the other's presence, about at the level of Chi Cultivation 7th layer. If a fight broke out in the deep sea, even with a green spirit python, it would hardly guarantee a favorable outcome. He quickly retracted his presence until only his turtle shell was visible. You can't see me, you can't see me. Luli curled up inside the turtle shell, silently chanting, hoping that the barbaric beast was just passing by and had no interest in him. After a little while, perhaps the prayers worked, for the giant-toothed whale slowly moved above his head, gradually swimming forward. Seeing the presence gradually weaken above him, he slowly let out a sigh of relief. Just as Luli thought he was safe, an unexpected change occurred. Boom, rumble. The giant-toothed whale suddenly turned around, opening its huge mouth and sucking in the direction of Luli. At that moment, large amounts of seaweed and seawater poured into the mouth of the giant-toothed whale, and Luli was mixed in. Is the perception of this barbaric beast so astonishing? The sudden change left Luli somewhat at a loss. Just as he could not help but think to summon his sword technique and release the green spirit python for a desperate gamble, a spark of inspiration suddenly flashed through his mind, and he thought of something. Now, if he fought desperately, it would likely be difficult to make it back to the surface, and the green spirit python would end up staying on the seafloor if things went wrong. At that moment, the giant-toothed whale swallowed Luli along with the seaweed and fish, just like gulping down dates. Luli made no resistance, wrapped in a pile of seaweed, and slowly moved toward the digestive tract of the giant-toothed whale. Before long, he passed through a long passageway and arrived at a secluded space. Chapter 8 Unity of Sword and Light. Luli sized up his surroundings. A dim yellow light flickered on the flashy walls around him, with only a narrow passageway leading straight to the outside. Beneath his feet was a sticky liquid, where a group of fish, shrimp, and seaweeds were dissolving at a speed visible to the naked eye. Such powerful corrosiveness. Luli reverted to his original form, only to see his Taoist robe rapidly disintegrating. He immediately released the green spirit python and drew out the amina cause. As soon as the iron pillar was released, it became very excited and started roaring loudly, making wooing noises. Luli immediately conveyed the attack order to it and stood on the python's head, then performed the azure water light splitting sword technique. Suddenly, more than a dozen pale sword lights appeared in the stomach space of the giant-toothed whale. Ha! Luli circulated all his mana, and the sword lights shone brightly before shooting out in all directions. Iron Pillar, not to be outdone, whipped its massive tail fiercely forward. Woo! With a shrill scream, the stomach wall was crazily slashed by the sword chi. At that moment, he suddenly felt a great suction force from the outside world. The giant-toothed whale was obviously trying to expel Luli. Luli circulated his mana and firmly embedded the sword hilt into the stomach wall, pinning himself inside like a nail. This was an opportunity sent from heaven. If he got out now, the outcome would be hard to predict. Luli felt that his previous attack hadn't hurt the giant-toothed whale seriously, it was merely a flesh wound. If he were outside, breaking through its defense would have been very difficult. He quickly circulated his mana to its limit and exerted all his power to execute a killing move from the sword technique, sword light as one. In midair, more than a dozen sword lights suddenly merged into one, forming an enormous sword aura. Hum. The amina cause hummed, and a 3-foot-long blade aura emerged at its tip, exuding an extreme sharpness. Luli controlled the amina cause, following the direction of the giant-toothed whale's heartbeat, and madly charged forward. All the surrounding flesh was rapidly shredded like rotting wood before an unstoppable blade. At that time, a series of pitiful screams came from the giant whale. Its entire body spun wildly in the depths of the sea, a lot of blood scattering in all directions, turning the nearby waters red. Before long, Luli reached a massive heart, and with a flash of the sword light, he directly smashed it. As the heart burst apart, the giant-toothed whale quickly fell silent and slowly sank into the depths of the sea. What strong defense! Feeling the mana nearly depleted within him, Luli revealed a smile of a narrow escape from death. Then, he put away the flying sword, transformed back into a giant serpent with the green spirit python, and swam out from the whale's mouth. Once outside, he saw the whale's body lying quietly on the seafloor shelf, feeling very delighted. Although barbaric beasts had flesh far less dense than demon beasts, the sheer size of this creature made up for it. By his estimate, the beast could match the corpses of at least a dozen Chi Cultivation 7th layer demon beasts. Luli took out his demon refining pot and pointed it at the giant-toothed whale below. Upon activating the runes, the whale's corpse began to shrink rapidly, soon disappearing into the mouth of the pot. After finishing all this, he put away the iron pillar and prepared to return to Golden Kylan Island. Today's gains were sufficient, and continuing to explore with his mana almost exhausted would be dangerous. As for the northern seas, they were likely beyond his reach at the moment. Just as Luli was making his way back along the same route, several hundred miles northeast of Golden Kylan Island, a large blue ship was stationary on the sea surface. At the bow stood 4 cultivators, 3 men and 1 woman. The girl had a very playful and cute appearance, dressed in a green palace attire, her face bursting with excitement. Lu Yuling spoke with a smile to the man beside her. "Big brother, can we really hunt demon beasts in this sea area? I heard there's a type of Dan pill that can lure them out." It was her first time following the family on a sea adventure to hunt demon beasts, and she was extremely excited, asking questions non-stop along the way. "Indeed, but the process is very dangerous." Lu Heng smiled. The 2 guest elders also nodded in agreement, wearing approving expressions on their faces. One of them was Wang Qing, who had previously guarded Golden Kylan Island. The other, a middle-aged man at the 6th level of Chi Cultivation, had a bitter look on his face because he was to serve as the bait this time. "Fang Tao, you need not worry too much. How about you take a third of the profits this time?" Lu Heng gently reassured the other man. "I've already agreed, so there's no reason for me to back down now." Fang Tao clenched his teeth. The 4 people reached an agreement and were just about to take action. At that moment, a magnificent giant ship appeared on the sea ahead, swiftly sailing towards them. At the bow stood a man around 25 or 26, dressed in a brocade robe, and around him stood 3 cultivators looking like guards. The man had reached the 7th level of Chi Cultivation, while the 3 around him were all roughly at the 6th level. Upon seeing the 4 members of the Lu family, Chen Danqi said with a haughty face, "This area is already claimed by my Chen family. You should go hunt for demon beasts elsewhere." Upon hearing these words, Lu Yuling's expression turned cold, ready to speak up, but she was stopped by Lu Heng. "It's just a sea area. Since Mr. Chen would like it, then we'll just move to another." Lu Heng's eyes concealed a cold light as he spoke indifferently. He then maneuvered the azure boat to slowly sail away towards the back. Watching the 4 people leave, Chen Danqi did not stop them, watching them with an indifferent face. The man beside him couldn't help but speak up, "Young clan chief, are you not willing to let them go?" Chen Danqi laughed coldly. "Even if the 4 wanted to escape, we couldn't keep them all. That old ghost of the Lu family is not dead yet. A foundation establishment cultivator nearing his end is quite terrifying. We just need to wait quietly." Far away, the Lu family members were somewhat silent. "This person is Chen Danqi, the young clan chief of the Chen family, and also the 2nd most talented person of this generation. I'm afraid I'm no match for him." Lu Heng's gaze emitted a faint glimmer. "If we had started a fight just now, little sister, you would have been in great danger." Lu Yuling was filled with indignation. This Chen family is really getting too much. That so-called 2nd most talented person doesn't look better than my 6th brother. To only be at the 7th level of Chi Cultivation at such an age and still have the face to be the young clan chief. Hearing this, Lu Heng also smiled. "Li is just being too modest. I wonder how he's doing on Golden Kylan Island by now. He's probably not getting enough to satisfy his daily cultivation needs." Lu Yuling was a bit puzzled. 6th brother might as well come out and join us in killing demon beasts, where there are more spirit stones and resources. Lu Heng also showed his agreement. "Let's kill another demon beast and then head back. That would make a profit of about 100 or 200 spirit stones for the month, not bad at all. These demon beasts are just too hard to find, you can't kill many in a month." Lu Yuling looked somewhat dispirited. Being the least advanced in her cultivation, she also got a smaller share. Luli returned to his cave on Golden Kylan Island under the moonlight. He checked his gains and found that this time he had collected 9 iced spirit fruits, as well as the body of a barbaric beast, which was an astonishing harvest. Converted to spirit stones, it amounted to several hundreds, a day's gain that was more than what an ordinary chi cultivation cultivator would get from deep-sea hunting in a month. He then went to the secret chamber to start his chi cultivation meditation. Chapter 9, Chi Refinement Level 7. The next day, at dawn, Luli opened his eyes, feeling the mana within his body had improved yet again, which made him extremely satisfied. The sensation of his strength increasing bit by bit was truly enchanting. He took out an ice spirit fruit and swallowed it whole. A very sweet taste instantly filled his entire mouth, juice splattered everywhere, and wisps of coolness circulated through his body. Then, a warm current surged from his stomach, slowly spreading throughout his body. After the warm current subsided, he paid close attention to the changes. Not bad, my mana has increased, and even my strength has grown considerably, quite noticeably. If this fruit were to be consumed regularly, the effects would likely be astonishing, and the hope for foundation establishment would greatly increase. Generally, chi cultivation disciples over 60 years old would slowly lose bodily functions, and the hope for foundation establishment would decline year by year. Moreover, foundation establishment has 3 barriers: divine sense, the physical body, and mana all need to meet the standard for foundation establishment. If an old body with weakening life force is forced into foundation establishment, the majority end up dead and their path annihilated. One of the reasons why foundation establishment pills are so precious is that they can allow those who fail at foundation establishment to survive. Time flies, and in a blink of an eye, the end of the year arrived. Inside a secret chamber in the Sunset Peak Cave, Luli sat cross-legged on a cushion, his surroundings brimming with spiritual energy crazily rushing into his body, causing his meridians to swell. He exerted his full effort to circulate the vast sea convoid technique, aiming for the 7th layer. Before long, an aura much stronger than before emerged in the secret chamber. Luli opened his eyes and slowly exhaled a breath of stale air. After nearly half a year of arduous cultivation, I have finally reached the 7th layer of chi cultivation. During this past half year, he had dived into the sea floor several times. Aside from a few instances, he usually returned with some gains. He only dared to roam within 1,000 miles of Golden Kylan Island, and his cautious nature kept him from exploring further into the distant sea floor. Thanks to a large number of spirit fruits from the sea floor, his cultivation progressed day by day, and even his physical body became extremely strong, enough to match a mid-stage chi cultivation demon beast. That was just the short-term effect. If he were to consume ice spirit fruits regularly and in large quantities, the result would likely be even more astonishing. He felt the surging mana inside his body and was very satisfied. This cultivation technique was truly extraordinary. With his current 7th layer chi cultivation mana, it was almost equivalent to an ordinary 8th layer chi cultivation level. As for the top-tier cultivation techniques from the large sects of the Immortal sect, their might was hard to comprehend, probably known only to a few true inheritors of those sects. Moreover, the past half year saw the green spirit python grow much, which was quite pleasing. Luli stepped out of the cave and released Iron Pillar. Oh. Upon being released, Iron Pillar couldn't help but emit sounds of joy. Compared to before, its python body had undergone a transformation like heaven and earth. Its nearly 20-foot-tall body exerted a significant oppressive force, with scales as dark as ink, arranged neatly and tightly, its defensive power extremely formidable. Its cultivation had also reached the 7th layer of chi cultivation. It lowered its head to look at Luli, its eyes instantly softened, affectionately entwining around him. Luli felt the spirit beast's presence, giving him an oppressive feeling. In the deep sea, he probably wouldn't be its match. As a demon beast king, naturally possessing a profound foundation, it was not impossible for it to fight beyond its level. This half year, he fed the green spirit python daily with spiritual liquid refined from seafloor demon beasts, with most of the liquid being used up on it. Iron Pillar did not disappoint, becoming his strong support. Luli let Iron Pillar play freely as he headed to a spirit field on the mountainside. The entire spirit field was filled with spirit rice. Each grain was plump, thoroughly translucent and glistening, and the air was rich with a fragrant aroma. He summoned his magic artifact, swiftly harvested several acres of spirit rice, then turned over the soil of the spirit field and planted new rice seeds. After completing this, he cast the cloud rain skill over the entire spirit field. He looked at the fruits of his labor, a look of satisfaction on his face. This was already the 3rd harvest of spirit rice this year. Spirit tooth rice was a mid-grade first-order spirit rice, aiding mid-stage chi cultivation cultivators in increasing their mana, with 1 harvest per year. Due to Luli's long-term use of the spiritual liquid from the refining pot to irrigate them, the ripening speed of the spirit tooth rice was greatly accelerated, a result of his accidental experiment. Over the past half year, the reason for the rapid advancement in his chi cultivation to the late stage could also be attributed to the prolonged consumption of spirit rice. This time, the harvested spirit rice shall be handed over to the family. Having packed up the spirit rice, Lu Li planned to submit it to Third Aunt during the annual family meeting at the end of the year. Just as he was about to return to his cave, he suddenly noticed several mortals anxiously pacing outside the array of Sunset Peak. Lu Li frowned and leaped down to the base of Sunset Peak. He opened the array and walked out. He then saw the elder named Lu King, along with several middle-aged men, standing outside the array, looking very anxious and uneasy. "Is there something urgent you need assistance with?" Upon seeing Lu Li emerge, Lu King and the others were overjoyed. "At last, Immortal Master Lu has come out. This old body has important matters to report. I am truly flustered to disturb the Immortal Master's cultivation." Lu Li, with a calm expression, replied, "Just tell me what the issue is, and cut to the chase." Lu King, with a sorrowful face, said, "Strange occurrences have been happening on Golden Kylan Island. Every so often, our clansmen and livestock die, and their deaths are extremely terrifying. The island's inhabitants are panic-stricken. We had no choice but to trouble the Immortal Master. After many attempts, we finally managed to meet you." Lu Li nodded his head. "Have the local authorities looked into it?" If it were just ordinary mortal killings, he had no interest in intervening. The head of the local authorities, Elder Shing, had a look and determined it wasn't the work of humans. "I'm afraid there's an evil creature breeding on the island." Lu King and the others promptly knelt on the ground, their faces filled with terror. "Please, Immortal Master, rid us of this evil presence and restore peace to the island. Then I shall accompany you to take a look." Lu Li walked slowly forward with his hands clasped behind his back. Seeing Lu Li agreed to take action, the group followed behind him with joy on their faces. To the northeast of Golden Kylan Island, near the sea, there was Golden Scale Town, a small town with just a few thousand inhabitants, mostly Lu family mortals who had lived there for generations, making a living from the sea and leading a life of poverty. Before long, Lu Li and the others arrived at a street. The street was flanked by orderly stone houses, with the ground paved in large stones. Some houses had incense burners out front, and white cloth hung from the door curtains, creating a somewhat cluttered appearance. It was the middle of the day, yet the street was depressingly quiet. Lu Li, accompanied by the group, walked through the street and arrived in front of a much larger building. 2 stone lions were placed in front of the house. Before even entering, they saw a sturdy middle-aged man who bore some resemblance to Lu King walking rapidly out. "Immortal Master Lu graces us with his presence. This humble person is overcome with apprehension." Lu King, too, stood beside him with a smile on his face. "Immortal Master Lu, this man is my son. He's responsible for the security on Golden Kylan Island." Lu Li nodded and walked straight in. "Are those bodies still here?" "Lead me to them," Lu Li asked. Mentioning the bodies, Lu King wore an expression of fear. "They are currently in the backyard. We dared not dispose of them ourselves for fear of the evil creature." He then led the way to the backyard. The group passed through the main hall and into a courtyard. Approaching, Lu Li could sense a faint evil aura permeating the air. In the back of the yard lay 7 or 8 bodies covered with white cloths. At that moment, Lu Li stepped forward, and had someone uncover the cloths, revealing several shriveled corpses. Their manner of death was extremely tragic, blood completely drained from their bodies, leaving them like withered husks. On their necks were 2 large holes, from which the evil aura seemed to emanate. "This matter is now known to me. I will wait here in the coming days for the evil creature to appear again," Lu Li calmly informed the group. With those words, he turned and walked away. Lu King and the others, hearing this, showed faces of joy. The events of the past few days had left them restless and filled with dread. Chapter 10 Demon Corpse. Night fell, the moon was bright and the stars sparse. On top of a stone tower about 10 meters high on Golden Kylan Island, Lu Li sat cross-legged, waiting quietly. The corpses that appeared during the day were clearly the work of zombies, which puzzled him greatly. There was no lawn suitable for maintaining corpses on the island, so how could zombies have formed? However, he felt that the evil spirit around the corpse's neck was not strong, and its aura seemed only about mid-level in chi cultivation, which suddenly piqued his interest. Several hours later, as the sky began to lighten slightly, nothing had happened. "It looks like there's no harvest today." For the next 2 days, he continued to wait atop the stone tower, but unfortunately, he observed no abnormalities. Could it be that this zombie just passed by accidentally and went somewhere else? After several days with no incidents, he grew somewhat suspicious. He decided to wait a few more days. On the 3rd night, the moonlight was like water, and all around was silent. The shadows of the forest in front reflected on the ground twisted like devilish silhouettes, quite eerie. Lu Li still sat atop the tower, overlooking the entire island. Time slowly passed, and soon it was the hour of the ox. Just when Luli thought the night would be uneventful, a gust of wind suddenly swept through from the edge of the forest, making the leaves rustle with a sasha sound. Luli's eyes snapped open, a gleam of sharpness emerging from the corners. Here it comes. He looked toward the edge of the forest where a tall figure leaped out, jumping several meters high, extremely agile as it quickly approached the island. Ah, it's actually a demon corpse. Luli found it strange, as demon corpses, unlike zombies, were very agile, clearly a cultivator refined through a secret technique. He focused his gaze. The demon corpse's face was greenish-purple with two large fangs exposed, emitting a terrifying evil spirit that was quite alarming. Good thing it's only about mid-level in chi cultivation. Luli didn't think further, he leaped down, landing steadily on an open space. He summoned the Aminaka's sword, channeling his mana to control the blade fiercely slashing toward the demon corpse. The blade flashed with dazzling light, turning into lightning as it swiftly approached the demon corpse. Roar! The demon corpse sensed the danger and roared angrily, its mouth emitting black evil spirit as if about to solidify. It suddenly spat out a dark green liquid targeting the approaching flying sword. This was the corpse poison and evil spirit accumulated within it for many years, utterly malevolent. Such an emission cost it years of vital energy, only the overpowering pressure from the flying sword forced it to act desperately. After spitting out the corpse poison, the demon corpses were visibly weakened. The corpse poison and evil spirit quickly met with the flying sword in midair. Sizzle. As they made contact, a thick smoke poured from the sword. You dare act ferociously, little demon corpse. Luli smiled faintly, exerting his mana to the fullest, the blade's light intensifying, quickly piercing through the poisonous miasma and ruthlessly cutting into the demon corpse's left arm. Roar, roar, roar. An arm was severed, and the demon corpse let out a painful howl. Then it rapidly turned and fled toward the sea behind, swiftly reaching the shore and diving into the ocean, disappearing from sight. From Luli's intervention to the demon corpse's escape, it was only a matter of moments. The noise of their clash reverberated across Golden Kylan Island, making some of the commoners tremble in fear at the demon corpse's roars. Luli sheathed his flying sword and quietly followed. He intentionally spared its life, wanting to see where this demonic creature had come from. He reached the shore, subdued his mana, and dove into the sea, following the trace of aura left behind. A man and a demon rapidly headed toward the northeast of Golden Kylan Island. Hours later, the sky was gradually lightening. From the depths of the ocean, Luli looked afar, and suddenly a desolate small island appeared up front. The island was only a few hundred meters in diameter, with jagged rocks scattered across its bare expanse devoid of any vegetation, permeating an aura of decay. The demon corpse swiftly emerged from the sea and, with a few leaps, landed on the island then quickly vanished from sight. Not long after, Luli arrived at the island. He stood on a broken rock at the shore, surveying the entire island. Other than the rocky beach, there was only a desolate valley at the center of the island, a lifeless sight all around. The air was thin with spiritual energy, clearly lacking any underground spirit vein. The demon corpse disappeared here. It seems there's something fishy about this island. Luli leaped up and flew toward the central valley of the island. Moments later, he arrived at the center of the valley. The surroundings were still barren, void of any vegetation. He frowned as he sensed a faint yet lingering malevolent aura in the air. It grew stronger as he approached a cave ahead. It seems the demon corpse has taken refuge here without any surprises. Luli summoned the green origin cauldron, activating it with mana, enveloping his body in a shining protective light. Then, he walked straight in. It was a pitch-black pathway, just wide enough for one person to pass through. There was a slight chill in the air, and the stone walls on either side were covered with scratch marks, the ground beneath his feet somewhat soft. The evil aura intensified the further he walked. Luli cautiously moved forward. Soon, he reached the end of the corridor. Stepping out, the space suddenly opened up to a vast cave lit by a few dimly glowing fluorescent stones set on the ceiling. Ah, there's actually an array here. Luli looked at the center of the cave, shrouded in heavy mist. He approached the array and closely examined it, only to see a large fragment missing on the right side, an obviously damaged array. It appeared that this demon corpse had escaped from here. Armed with a defensive magical artifact, Luli entered through the broken part of the array. As soon as he stepped in, he saw the demon corpse looking at him in terror, one of its arms completely gone. Beside the demon corpse stood a piece of black wood, with various items and a storage bag scattered around on the ground. Luli looked down at the storage bag, his mind bewildered. Could this be where a senior fell? Curious but ready to kill his opponent, Luli was about to strike when suddenly, a wave of divine soul fluctuations emanated from the wood. Hold on, young friend. A somewhat ethereal soul emerged from the wood. The person transformed into a kindly-looking old man, appearing very benign. Seeing this, Luli was startled, Yet his expression remained calm. "Respected senior, who are you, and why stop me from killing this beast?" A cultivator who could project his divine soul and remain intact must surely be at the Foundation establishment level or beyond. "I am Master King Song, a Purple Mansion cultivator from the Profound Sunset, who fell here several hundred years ago due to an attack by the Demon Path. If you could assist me in a small matter, young friend, I have generous gifts for you." Lu Li pondered the old man's words. He had heard of the Profound Sunset, a prominent sect in the Dragonfall Outer Seas, with golden core cultivators among its ranks. But the details of a Purple Mansion cultivator's death were beyond his knowledge. Thinking this, Lu Li smiled noncommittally. "I possess little power, senior. What do you need me to help you with?" With his hands clasped behind his back, Master King Song's face bore an inscrutable expression. "My dwelling is a piece of soul-nourishing wood on the ground. Start by taking it and escaping this place with me. All kinds of cultivation techniques, secret techniques, artifact refining techniques, and chances within a cave are in the storage bag below." Hearing this, a flicker of desire crossed Lu Li's face. Yet, he gripped the Aminaka's sword in his hand even tighter. "Such a small favor, I accept," he said. Then, he slowly walked forward. Chapter 11, each with their own scheme. Having walked half the way, a sudden change occurred. Crack! Lu Li suddenly swung his sword fiercely at the elder, his intense sword chi recklessly scattering, producing a buzzing sound. Just as Lu Li was about to make his move, the elder, as if prepared, charged towards Lu Li like lightning, both moving in a strangely synchronized manner. At this point, Master King Song stopped pretending and revealed a face full of madness, his whole body emitting a terrifying aura. "Haha. Not bad, lad, you've got a bit of the demon offspring look. But you're still too green in front of this old ancestor. I'll take this body without hesitation." As soon as he spoke, the sword light swiftly slashed towards King Song's soul. At the moment of contact, King Song's soul immediately split in two. Strangely, the split primordial spirits weakened significantly but still rushed fiercely towards Lu Li's mind. GG. Old ancestor has the soul-splitting secret method. Just merge with the old ancestor willingly. Seeing this, Lu Li's expression changed. These old monsters were indeed unfathomable. Unnoticeably, he activated the demon refining pot hidden deep in his mind, which emitted a faint light. In just an instant, King Song's two soul clusters had rushed into Lu Li's mind, swiftly converging into a soul body. Just as King Song was about to devour Lu Li's primordial spirit deep within his mind, he suddenly felt a strong suction force. This caused his entire soul body to involuntarily fly forward. "What is this cursed thing?" King Song looked up and saw an ancient pot-shaped object floating in the center of the mind, emitting a mysterious faint light. "Young friend, spare me this once, I know many secrets that can aid you." King Song's face showed extreme panic as he started to incessantly beg for mercy. Lu Li remained unmoved and continued to activate the demon refining pot. Within moments, the opponent was forcibly sucked onto the body of the pot. Ah! Upon contact with the demon refining pot, King Song's entire soul body rapidly emitted black smoke and he screamed in agony. In just a few breaths, the opponent's soul body directly turned into a wisp of green silk, dissipating into the surrounding space. At this moment, Lu Li had a somewhat odd expression on his face. "I never expected that some scattered memory fragments of this demon would still remain." At the instant the demon vanished, a flood of chaotic memories entered his mind. This individual was not the real Master King Song. His name was Sky-Splitting Demon, but due to significant memory loss, it was unclear why the demon had came to be in this situation. The demon corpse was also a chi cultivation cultivator nearby whom he had killed and turned into a demon corpse to set up this trap. Lu Li sealed away the memories of the Sky-Splitting Demon and picked up the storage bag from the ground. Then, he maneuvered his flying sword towards the injured demon corpse in the corner. The intense sword light flickered fiercely at the tip of the sword. Roar! The demon corpse desperately resisted but in vain. Amidst the sounds of wretched roars, its head was sliced off. Dark green liquid splattered all around, and soon the headless demon corpse lay motionless. After finishing all this, he gathered up the remains of the broken array, and then left. At the moment the sky-splitting demon's divine soul perished, tens of thousands of miles away, on a deserted island in the ocean, within an underground cave. I can no longer sense that split soul. A man cloaked in a black robe slowly opened his eyes. Under the powerful aura he emitted, the surrounding blood pool stirred up waves. At that time, a man clad in a black cloak entered. "Lord, everything is ready, we can act at any time." The powerful man in the black robe slowly nodded, a cold light flashing in his eyes. Nighttime, silence pervaded. Inside the cave at Sunset Peak, Lu Li sat cross-legged on a mat, carefully perusing through the memory fragments of Sky-Splitting Demon, his face filled with emotion. Many memories were already very disordered, but he could still find some useful information. Blood spirit drill, blood jutsu, blood boiling secret technique. Before long, he discovered numerous demon secret skills. Many of them required the consumption of vast amounts of essence blood to master, but he found them to be quite practical. Luli then slowly sorted out some useful information from them. Several hours later, when he finished viewing all memory fragments, he slowly exhaled. This sky-splitting demon was clearly a veteran and mighty demon. From a humble beginning, he rose by killing and plundering, exploring caves, leveraging his own wisdom to cultivate up to the Purple Mansion stage, which was extraordinary. How to choose targets, how to leave tracking marks, and even how to dispose of loot afterward broadened his horizons. Luli couldn't help but marvel at how truly cunning and sly the sky-splitting demon was, never revealing his true power in public, and retreating thousands of miles immediately if an attack failed. However, those who frequently walk by the river cannot keep their shoes dry. The demon accidentally fell into an array masterminded by Master King Song, and although he desperately escaped, he was severely injured, leading to his eventual demise on a deserted island. However, this hidden spirit secret technique does seem quite interesting. Luli's eyes twinkled slightly. Some of these demon secret skills could make up for his shortcomings. After making up his mind, he took out the storage bag. Since this demon had not nourished the storage bag with mana and divine sense for a long time, it had become unclaimed. He emptied the contents, and soon the ground was covered with various bottles and jars. A pungent smell filled the air. Ugh, that stinks. What is this stuff? Luli held his breath to see if he could find some useful items. After a while, only some residue and a few damaged demonic magical artifacts were left on the ground. It seemed that many things could no longer be used due to a long lack of nourishment by spiritual energy. However, this storage bag was more than 10 times larger than his own, which was perfect to start using. After cleaning up the ground, Luli started to meditate and cultivate. More than 20 days flashed by. In the early morning, with gentle sunlight. Inside the cave at Sunset Peak. Luli stood up and his body shook slightly a few times. His aura suddenly dropped to about the 4th level of chi cultivation. Then his body began to swell, and his features rapidly changed, transforming into a rugged, burly man. This hidden spirit secret technique is really good, worthy of being the foundational secret technique that allowed the old demon to rampage through the cultivation world. Feeling the change in himself, Luli commented with satisfaction. Over the past 20 days, he had been trying to cultivate a few secret techniques. Today, he finally succeeded in mastering the last one. After mastering the hidden spirit secret technique, he could conceal his actual cultivation level. Unless cultivators were a major realm above him, it was extremely difficult to detect. However, this secret technique also had its flaws. Firstly, it couldn't change the aura and soul fluctuations. It still couldn't compare to the transformation function of the artifact tracing pot, which could mimic even the aura with inconceivable effects. Luli then experienced the blood spirit drill, a stream of aura of the blood fiend, condensed from his essence blood, sealed within his chest. With stimulation, it could shoot out like a flying sword, very covert. The strength of blood spirit drill depended on the amount of essence blood he sacrificed, but 1 drop was its limit. This secret technique made him sense a whiff of danger. However, this technique consumed essence blood too excessively. Ordinary cultivators usually possessed only 9 drops. Because Luli's physical body was astonishing, comparable to a mid-stage chi cultivation demon beast with 17 drops of essence blood, which might increase further. Yet, even then, he dared not frequently use essence blood to refine secret techniques. One refined technique as a trump card was enough. The remaining blood jutsu and blood boiling techniques weren't very difficult and he had successfully grasped the basics in just a few days. After a brief trial, Luli walked out of the cave. He went to irrigate the spirit rice on a hillside and was about to visit the artifact refining room to start learning artifact refining. Having been on Golden Kylan Island for nearly a year, some spiritual ore he had prepared initially was still in his storage bag. Boom. Just then, a loud thunder sounded from the sky and the defensive big formation around Sunset Peak started shaking violently. Chapter 12 Enemy Attack. Oh no, there are evildoers attacking the array. At the moment the array shook with vibration, Luli sprang into action. He first quickly stimulated a communication jade scroll, and then took out the control token for the array. After infusing it with mana, he stabilized the array. This series of actions was exceedingly rapid and handled with great expertise, causing even those outside the array to be somewhat astounded. Only then did Luli have the chance to observe the situation outside the array. He saw 3 men and 1 woman, 4 cultivators, spread out around the perimeter, frantically attacking the array light screen with their magic artifacts, causing ripples to spread. The 3 male cultivators had about the 8th layer of chi cultivation, with the leader being a burly man with a rough face, looking to be in his 40s. He was fiercely pounding the array light screen with a four-sided seal-shaped magic artifact. All fellow Taoists strike with full force. This mountain is guarded only by a 6th-layer Chi cultivation cultivator. We have at most half an hour. Duzi, while controlling his magic seal, shouted to the three beside him. The woman on the far left agreed with a nod. We're only a little more than 200 li away from Mystic Moon Island. Half an hour is enough time for the Lu family to send a rescue. This woman, dressed in a purple tube-top dress with a fiery figure, undulated as she spoke, exuding charm, her cultivation likely around the 7th layer of Chi cultivation. Liu Zhenru, while attacking the array with her flying sword, called out to Lu Li with a charming voice, "Little brother, it would be better to obediently open the array. This girl will take good care of you, you won't feel the slightest pain." Having said that, she then jutted out her proud posture, prompting the two thin men beside her to frequently glance her way. Still, their eyes betrayed a hint of wariness. Seeing this, Lu Li smirked coldly, continuing to channel mana into the token in a steady flow. His hands danced rapidly, and with several magic spells cast, the array began to change incessantly. With his continuous support of mana, the earth spirit trapping array became extremely sturdy and showed no signs of being breached. As time slowly passed, the few people outside the array were becoming anxious. That kid can't hold out much longer, let's not hold back anymore. Duzi's face showed some worry. After saying this, he spat a mouthful of Aizen's blood onto the magic seal, causing the high-grade magic artifact to suddenly shine brightly, its power greatly increasing. Seeing this, the remaining three did not hesitate to use their trump cards, and for a moment, treasures glowed and mana splashed in all directions. Boom, boom, boom. The four magic artifacts smashed hard onto the array light screen, causing the array to shake violently, with ripples spreading everywhere like water waves. Liu Zhenru was overjoyed at this sight. This man is running out of mana. After breaking the array, I want him, and will take less of the spoils from the hill. She then pointed at Lu Li inside the array and seductively licked her lips. Duzi nodded with a wicked smile. After breaking the array, that kid will be handed over to Mr. Liu to deal with. Being loved by Mr. Liu is his good fortune. Liu Zhenru was quite pleased, captivated by the handsome appearance of the man opposite her. The other three also wore confident expressions, simultaneously increasing the output of their mana. As time passed, the array light screen began to flash wildly but still could not be completely breached. Lu Li stood at the foot of the mountain, coldly watching the few people outside the array, putting on a very weak front. He also held a spirit stone in his hand, taking medicine pills from time to time. It was almost half an hour now, and his mana had not been consumed much. If his cultivation had not broken through, he might have found it a bit challenging. Seeing that the array was always on the verge of collapse but never broke, Duzi and his companions couldn't help but become even more anxious. There's something strange about this array. Let's give it one last strike. Liu Zhenru shouted, no longer as composed as before. After saying this, she swallowed a medicine pill, her aura lifting a little, and the flying sword above her head shone brightly. The other three also simultaneously began to use their final moves. Just at that moment, an unexpected change occurred. Buzz, buzz. A small flying boat was approaching Sunset Peak at high speed from a few hundred meters to the southeast of Golden Kylan Island. Damn it. Lu family cultivators are coming to the rescue. Retreat. As soon as he finished speaking, Duzi immediately put away his magic artifact and turned to flee towards the northwest. Almost the moment the flying boat appeared, the other three reacted as well, quickly retracting their magic artifacts and fleeing in all directions. Lu Li put away the control token and immediately stepped out of the array, pursuing in the direction of Liu Zhenru. At the same time, from the corner of his eye, he watched the flying boat chase after Duzi. Liu Zhenru, feeling the power of the blood fiend pill beginning to take effect inside her body, suffered from a prickling pain coursing through her meridians, her heart filled with bitterness. This time I've really suffered a great loss, healing my injuries will take several months. I never expected the Lu family's reinforcements to arrive so quickly, there were never any mistakes in the past. As she was mired in countless thoughts, she suddenly sensed a tunneling light pursuing her from behind. Turning her head, her face showed a hint of killing intent. Could it be that he actually dares to treat me like I'm soft clay to be molded? Who gave him the courage to pursue and attempt to kill me? The effect of the medicine pill continued to intensify, greatly boosting her tunneling technique, but she was still unable to completely shake off the chase behind her. After passing dozens of miles, she stopped above the sea surface. She waited quietly for the person following her. For her, further escape was futile. She thought to take advantage of the utmost potency of the blood fiend pill to fully deal with the enemy. This place was neither too close nor too far from Golden Kylan Island, so the Lu family's reinforcements would be too far to reach in time. Not long after, she saw Lu Li stop not far ahead. Yo. Mr. Liu, why the relentless pursuit? Couldn't bear to part with me? If you agree, I am willing to accompany you to Nirvana. Liu Zhenru looked at Lu Li with seductive eyes, and while speaking, she even removed the light gauze from her body, revealing a seductive outline. Lu Li, upon seeing this, felt his throat go dry. This enchantress has powerful powers of seduction. Enchantress, meet your end. He did not hesitate to summon his flying sword while also releasing the iron pillar. Hiss. With hissing sounds filling the air, a behemoth snake dozens of feet high coiled above the sea surface. Its dark scales gleamed with a black luster, and it exuded a powerful aura. Mr. Liu, I ask for mercy. I am willing to become your concubine, please spare me this once. At the sight of the spirit beast, Liu Zhenru's heart tightened instantly. She began begging for mercy. Feeling the fierce and deadly chi of the late-stage chi cultivation snake, she knew she was no match. If it had been just Lu Li alone, she might have stood a chance to fight. Kill. Lu Li remained unmoved. The flying sword, as quick as lightning, slashed toward her head. At the same time, Iron Pillar lashed out with its tail, fiercely attacking her side. The sword chi rapidly split into 12 strands in the sky, forming a small sword array, trapping her within. Threads of sharp sword chi roamed freely along the blades, exuding endless sharpness. It's actually a sword array. Liu Zhenru turned pale with shock, hastily taking out a pink cloud handkerchief-shaped magic artifact, enveloping herself within. At the same time, she pleaded desperately, I am willing to be your slave, if only Mr. Liu would consider the difficulty of my cultivation. Having said that, she untied the only pink garment covering her, revealing the whiteness of her front. Seeing the sword array, she knew she could not escape and didn't expect this man to have such means at his disposal. And there was no need to mention the intimidating giant snake nearby. Who sent you? Speak, and I will consider it, Lu Li said. Seeing that she was standing there on the sea surface, he could not help but take a few more glances. Seeing Lu Li's gaze, Liu Zhenru felt a flicker of joy and a glimmer of hope for survival. She batted her eyes seductively. More than 10 days ago, a black-robed cultivator found me and several others, providing information about Golden Kylan Island. This person also promised a high-quality magic artifact as a gift upon success, and all the spiritual objects on the island would belong to us. Do you know the exact identity of this person? Lu Li asked. This servant does not know, she replied. Humphrey. Then you are of no use. A murderous look on his face, Lu Li channeled his flying sword and ferociously slashed toward her. Chapter 13, Ruthless Annihilation. You're a liar, you promised to spare my life. I only said I would consider it, and now that I have, I think killing you is more convenient. Having said that, Lu Li's murderous intent didn't wane as he quickly circulated his sword technique, with piercingly sharp sword chi weaving through the void. Kerr, I'll be waiting for you down below. We'll meet soon enough, haha. Seeing no hope for survival, Liu Zhenru began to curse loudly. At the same time, she expended all her strength to raise the cloud light handkerchief in defense against the surrounding sword chi. Sizzle. Countless sword chi seemed to be cutting into the cloud light handkerchief, emitting a series of piercing screeches. It was not until this moment that Liu Zhenru began to regret her situation, realizing her opponent had long broken through the latter stages of chi cultivation and his strength was far beyond what she could handle. Surrounded by a relentless onslaught of sword chi slicing into the cloud light handkerchief, she felt her mana draining rapidly. Her complexion grew as pale as paper, and she began to falter. Before long, the cloud light handkerchief above her head started to flicker between light and dark, obviously nearing its limit. Seeing this, Lu Li poured all his strength into the sword technique, and a colossal sword chi instantly appeared above the ocean, radiating a fearsome aura. Slash. The sword chi, like lightning, swiftly sliced towards the other's defensive magical artifact. Crack. With a loud crash reverberating through the sky, the cloud light handkerchief was instantly split in two by the sword chi and quickly fell onto the sea's surface. The sword chi, undiminished after destroying the artifact, continued its descent upon Liu Zhenru. Facing the sudden sword chi, Liu Zhenru's expression turned ashen, and in a moment of utter despair, she was instantly bisected, her body then shredded into pieces by the fierce sword chi. Crimson blood immediately stained a small patch of the surrounding seawater. Lu Li retrieved her storage bag and the damaged magic artifact, then turned around and flew towards Golden Kylan Island. Midway through his flight, he seemed to remember something, his body quivered slightly, and his aura weakened, taking on the appearance of someone in the 6th level of chi cultivation. It didn't take long before Golden Kylan Island could be seen in the distance. As soon as Lu Li landed on the island and reached Sunset Peak, he saw a white-haired old man standing in front of an array. The old man, dressed in a light blue Taoist robe and of a slim build, had cultivation around the 12th level of chi cultivation and was looking at him with a kindly expression. Fourth Grandpa, I didn't expect you to come to my aid. I just happened to be on Mystic Moon Island, and when I received your message, I borrowed the ancestors' flying boat to rush here, replied Lu Hongchang, smiling. You're quite bold, boy, to dare chase after a demon cultivator. If something went wrong, this old man would have a hard time explaining to the ancestor. Lu Li also smiled lightly. I just took a quick chase and came back. There was no danger. Lu Hongchang nodded. Don't be so rash in the future. Our family's hope for the next generation of Foundation establishment cultivators rests on you and King. Grandson has taken a lesson to heart. Lu Li nodded earnestly. Be cautious these days. Other than Golden Kylan Island which you defend, several of our family's smaller islands have been attacked, Lu Hongchang said with a grim expression. 2 small islands have been breached, the spiritual materials on the mountain looted, and 2 family protectors slain by demon cultivators. Hearing this, Lu Li's heart also grew heavy, sensing something out of the ordinary, and that's not to mention the elders and the ancestor picking up on it as well. After a brief conversation, Lu Hongchang boarded the flying boat and set off for Mystic Moon Island. It seems this hidden spirit technique is still very effective, even cultivators at the peak of chi cultivation can't detect the slightest hint. Lu Li thought to himself. He then proceeded to the cave dwelling at the top of Sunset Peak. After sitting cross-legged and practicing cultivation for a while, he started to inspect his recent gains. He took out the storage bag, gently probed it with his divine sense, and headed towards a cluster of unfamiliar marks. After several purges, the original owner's marks were soon erased. He opened the storage bag and poured out the contents. A large pile of miscellaneous items was laid out on the ground. Besides some female clothes and personal belongings, there were over 900 spirit stones and a mid-grade flying sword magic artifact. There were also some medicine pills in various bottles and jars, some of which were emanating an aura of the blood fiend. It seemed that this person had been preparing to purchase a high-grade magic artifact, and this time Lu Li had lucked out. A high-grade magic artifact cost at least 1,000 spirit stones, which meant many cultivators who had just reached the later stages of chi cultivation still used mid-grade magic artifacts. As for top-grade magic artifacts, they were even more expensive and were generally used by Foundation establishment cultivators. Indeed, committing murder and arson earns a golden belt, but this person's fate also served as a warning to Lu Li that those who rob and kill will eventually meet their match. After summarizing his experience for the day, Lu Li gathered all the useful items from the ground and began his daily cultivation practice. The following day, early in the morning, Lu Li arrived at the artifact refining room, ready to start learning the artifact refining technique. Among the 4 arts of cultivation, he chose to start with artifact refining first, simply because it was relatively easier than learning arrays. Moreover, refining a suitable life-bound magical artifact would greatly enhance his combat abilities. He first took out the artifact refining insights gifted to him by his ancestor and studied the key points carefully. He had also frequently reviewed these insights over the past year, and only today did he feel confident enough to begin refining artifacts. Lu Li took out a gray artifact refining furnace tripod and placed it on the ground. Upon activating it with mana, the furnace tripod quickly expanded and transformed into a tripod about the height of a person. The surface of the tripod was carved with beast patterns, emitting a faint glow. This artifact refining tripod was only a low-grade magic artifact furnace tripod, which he had exchanged for contribution points from his clan at the beginning of the year. It was sufficient for learning artifact refining. He placed several redwood logs underneath the furnace tripod and ignited them with mana, producing intense flames. This redwood was a type of low-level spirit wood, widely used in alchemy and artifact refining. The temperature of the flames was only slightly lower than that of earth fire, which was more than enough for refining ordinary low and mid-level magic artifacts. As time passed, the furnace tripod began to glow red. Seeing that the fire was about right, he immediately placed several chunks of mystic iron stone inside. Then he added some mithril and iron essence. When the high temperature melted them, they turned into a pool of multicolored molten metal. With a series of quick gestures from his hands, the impurities in the ores were stripped away. These gestures were part of the second-tier artifact refiner inheritance. Other than removing impurities, they included shaping and inscribing runes. As for the later Earth Fiend and Heavenly Gang spiritual restrictions, he didn't have any of those. They were rare spell restrictions used in the crafting of magic treasures and spiritual treasures. Before long, most of the impurities were removed from the pool of molten metal, leaving behind a clear and transparent liquid. Without pause, Lu Li cast several shaping spells, and the metal liquid quickly morphed into the shape of a flying sword. He then applied the fire control technique to suppress the temperature of the flame slightly. Soon the flying sword solidified, emitting wisps of cold light. Afterward, he cast several sharp and sturdy rune spells into the air, the runes quickly merging into the body of the sword. Finally, He poured a clump of traceless water over the surface of the blade. Sizzle. With the sound of hissing, plumes of white smoke emerged in the artifact refining room. Once the smoke had cleared, Lu Li quietly observed the finished product in his hands. With a gentle twist of his hand. Crack. A crisp sound rang out as the flying sword broke cleanly into two sections at the fracture. The first attempt indeed ended in failure. Lu Li carefully reflected on his deficiencies and mistakes. Instead of immediately starting again, he once more reviewed the artifact refining insights bestowed by his ancestor, comparing them with his own process. Gradually, he gained many insights. This had been his habit for a long time. He always liked to reflect on failures and then seek the opportunity for success. Several hours later, Lu Li slowly exhaled a breath of stale air, reigniting the flames, and began his second attempt at artifact refining. Chapter 14, Returning to the Family. Boom, boom, boom. Not long after, with a loud bang, a cloud of black smoke suddenly emerged from the secret chamber. Cough, cough. The furnace exploded this time. Lu Li fiercely exhaled a breath of exhaustion and wiped the black hash off his face before he dumped out all the residue from the furnace and cleaned its interior thoroughly. It might be that impurities were not completely removed, and I was too hasty in embedding the runes. He carefully recalled the steps he had just taken, pinpointing a hint of the cause of the failure. At the same time, he went over the process of artifact refining several times in his mind, making his techniques more proficient. Half an hour later, Lu Li started to try again. Unexpectedly, he failed again. The successive failures somewhat disheartened him, making him start to doubt whether he had the talent for artifact refining. Soon, he adjusted his attitude, acknowledging that if artifact refining were so easy, high-level artifact refiners would not be so rare. Next, he experienced failure another 9 times. Each failure made him meticulously ponder the reasons for his failures, then he further deepened his understanding by comparing his experiences to his ancestors' insights on artifact refining. At that moment, Lu Li felt he grasped a faint glimmer of enlightenment. He immediately began again without stopping. This time, the process went exceptionally smoothly. Whether it was removing impurities or shaping and tempering, there was a supremely smooth feeling, accompanied by a unique artistic beauty. Soon, it came down to the last step. Lu Li, with hands dancing the magic spell, swiftly embedded it into the body of the sword. With a light sound, a pitch-black 3-foot flying sword flew out, its tip flashing with a sharp light. Lu Li picked up the flying sword, stimulated his mana, and it emitted a sword light of about 1 foot. Haha. I finally succeeded. This time, he finally succeeded in refining a low-level magic artifact, marking his official status as a first-grade low-level artifact refiner. Lu Li did not pause excessively, he began to keenly recall that faint enlightenment and the feeling of smoothness. Moments later, he started the furnace to refine another magic artifact. Indeed, he succeeded in refining another low-level flying sword. Next, he began to practice low-level defensive magical artifacts. Although defensive magical artifacts were somewhat harder to create than attack magic tools, with the experience of his recent success, he only failed 4 times before succeeding. Moments later, Lu Li held a jet-black shield-shaped magical artifact, satisfaction written all over his face. Going forward, refining mid-level and high-level magical artifacts will just be a matter of perseverance. It seems I will need to gather more top-grade materials for artifact refining. Soon after, Lu Li stowed away the magical artifacts and the furnace tripod, beginning his daily cultivation. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. Lu Li sat cross-legged on the meditation cushion, slowly exhaling a breath of turbid air. During this month, aside from the indispensable daily cultivation, it was all about refining magical artifacts. The artifact refining materials he had brought from his family were now completely used up, considerably enhancing his refining experience. Now he could stably refine low-level magical artifacts. Time passes so quickly, it's already the end of the year, and this year happens to be when the family gathering is held. Lu Li counted the days, pondering to himself. The Lu family held a family gathering every 3 years, serving both as a summary of the developments over these 3 years and as a projection of future plans. He had attended several times before and was very familiar with it. Of course, the most important part was the family banquet, which featured lots of spiritual wine, spirit fruit, and spiritual materials, making him look forward to it. Lu Li got up and walked out of his cave dwelling, ready to water the spirit rice. Suddenly, a wave of fluctuations came from the defensive array below the mountain, followed by a communication jade talisman flying up. Lu Li received the jade talisman and swept his divine sense over it. Lu Li, fellow Taoist, you can return to the family for the gathering now. The family has sent 2 guest elders to temporarily hold the fort at Golden Kylan Island. Lu Li was slightly startled, not expecting their timing to be so coincidental. With a thought, he immediately activated the hidden spirit technique, leaped from the mountain, and saw two familiar figures below. One was indeed Wang Ping, who previously held the fort at Golden Kirin Island, and the other was a somewhat plump middle-aged cultivator. Both were around the 6th layer of Qi cultivation. Lu Li opened the array, smiling at the two. Wang Ping and Shen Xuan, fellow Taoists, you've arrived quite early. Wang Ping and the other laughed as they entered. We both haven't had many tasks lately, so it's perfect timing to replace you, fellow Taoist. Lu Li nodded and handed the control token to Wang Ping. After a brief handover with the two, he walked out of the array and embarked on his return journey to Mystic Moon Island. Watching Lu Li's departing figure, the two showed a hint of envy. The direct descendants of a family indeed have it good, so young yet already on par with us. Wang Ping sighed, a bit wistful. I'm afraid this person also has some hope for foundation establishment, unlike you and I. Shen Xuan also looked dejected. I have no hope for foundation establishment, and after many years, I will probably just be a handful of dust. However, this person may lack a bit of an ambitious heart. He has made only slight progress in a year. The hurdle of foundation establishment is not so easy to overcome. Wang Ping nodded in agreement. We cultivators are meant to defy the heavens, and should face difficulties head-on by going to the sea to slay demon beasts, which hones ourselves and accumulates cultivation resources. At noon, the sunlight splashed over the sea, and a gentle breeze stirred up sparkling waves. Not far from Mystic Moon Island, a small azure boat was cutting through the waves, slowly approaching the island. At the bow stood a young man in a white Taoist robe, looking quite ethereal as the breeze fluttered his robes. Lu Li looked towards Mystic Moon Island ahead, feeling somewhat sentimental. A year had passed in the blink of an eye, and the island remained the same as always, without much change. On the shoreline, some mortals were busily working for their daily sustenance, bustling with activity. Not far away, at a small dock, a few low-level Qi cultivation peripheral clansmen were leisurely sunbathing. As lower spirit roots, breaking through the later stages of Qi cultivation in their lifetimes was very challenging. They had long grown accustomed to a leisurely daily life. Seeing Lu Li approaching the dock, a young man quickly walked over. Senior Lu Li, I will take care of the boat here. Lu Li nodded and casually tossed a spirit stone. He somewhat remembered this young cultivator who had taken him to Golden Kirin Island by boat before. Ken Fuming caught the spirit stone and bowed. Thank you, senior. Once ashore, Lu Li mounted his flying sword and flew towards Kingiling Peak. He didn't return to his own cave, but directly flew to a villa halfway up the mountain. It wasn't long before Lu Li stopped outside an exquisite courtyard. The courtyard wasn't large, about several dozen meters in circumference. It was surrounded by a defensive array, and its sides were filled with lush trees, presenting a vibrant scene. Just as he was about to send a communication jade token, the array suddenly fluctuated. A dignified and elegant lady in a purple palace dress walked out. You're home, why are you still standing outside? Yi Yukin somewhat reproached, yet her face couldn't hide the joy. Saying so, she walked up to Lu Li and took his hand, leading him into the courtyard. Lu Li smiled. Has Dad come back? He had grown up cherished by his parents, and the three shared a close bond. Yi Yukin glanced at Lu Li. He's inside. Haven't seen you in over a year, and you don't even care about your mother. Lu Li could only offer an embarrassed smile, opting to remain silent. My son has grown quite a bit taller, and his cultivation has improved significantly, truly worthy of being the family's second seed with the potential for foundation establishment. Yi Yukin expressed with delight. Lu Li felt somewhat awkward. I'm still far behind Sister King. I know. My son is just low-key. Yi Yukin showed indulgent maternal affection. The two chatted and laughed as they entered a house. At that moment, a gaunt middle-aged man with a somewhat pallid face walked out. Cough cough. Lu Chen lightly coughed a few times, smiling at Lu Li. Liar is back, not bad, your cultivation hasn't fallen behind. Father, your health. Lu Li looked worried. Ever since his father had injured his lung channel in a magic duel, it had always been like this. It's an old issue, it's nothing serious, I've gotten used to it over more than 20 years. Lu Chen appeared reassured. The two fell silent for a moment. Yi Yukin, seeing this, broke the quiet. Alright, Liar just got back. Let's not think about these unhappy matters right now, we'll always find a way eventually. Saying so, a hint of murderous intent flashed through the corner of her eye as she turned. Lu Li nodded, and after a good conversation with his parents, he returned to his own cave. Chapter 15 Family gathering late at night, in a courtyard on the hillside. What are you planning to hide this matter for much longer? Let's talk about it later, if Li could establish his foundation. Humphrey, sooner or later we'll have to settle this matter with the Chen family. Yi Yukin's face was frosty. In the following days, Luli spent his time either cultivating in the cave or accompanying his mother in the courtyard on the hillside. The spiritual energy of the second-order spirit vein was much stronger than that of Golden Kylan Island, which had become somewhat insufficient for him, requiring the aid of medicine pills every time he cultivated. Time flew by until the day of the clan gathering. Early morning. Luli walked out of the cave and headed towards the back mountain. Along the way, he encountered several clan members who greeted him kindly. Each clan meeting was held in a grand hall on the back mountain, a tradition of the Lu family to highlight the selfless contributions of some ancestors and to strengthen the clansman's sense of belonging to the family. For hundreds of years, numerous ancestors of the Lu family had left their acquired secret techniques in the Dharma transmission hall, gradually deepening the foundation of the Lu family. Luli confidently made his way along the mountain path. Halfway there, he saw a stunning figure appear at the fork ahead. The woman, in her 20s, wore a light-colored Taoist robe, her stature proud and her demeanor elegant, her cultivation around the 8th level of Chi cultivation. Is it comfortable for you, the youngest brother, to be stationed at Golden Kylan Island for the first time? I heard you even faced an attack by evil cultivators. Lu Qingqing approached, looking concerned. Seeing her, Luli smiled, but his expression was somewhat uneasy. You worry too much, sister. Everything was fine thanks to the timely rescue by our family. Every time he saw Lu Qingqing, he remembered the fear of being dominated by her when he was a child, and even now the memory made him shudder. Lu Qingqing, being several years older than him, had been extremely curious as a child and insisted on using Luli for her experiments. Back then, Luli was too young to resist. Of course, the two also had a very good relationship, often running wild across Mystic Moon Island. Sensing Luli's aura, Lu Qingqing frowned. Younger brother, it seems you've been slacking off in your cultivation lately. Luli smiled. I've been learning artifact refining recently. He replied casually, without revealing anything about the hidden spirit technique. Lu Qingqing sighed. Li, you should prioritize cultivation. You need to take up a portion of the family's responsibilities. Of all the younger generation in the Lu family, only you and I have hopes of achieving foundation establishment. Luli nodded. In the midst of their conversation, they reached an open space. A majestic and solemn hall stood in the center of the plain. The hall, dozens of meters long, was built from a pale blue wood. Due to being permeated with spiritual energy, the wood had not rotted for hundreds of years. Luli sniffed the air, detecting a faint fragrance. The two entered the hall together. Several family cultivators were already scattered inside, and his parents were sitting in one corner. On a high platform in the distance, densely packed ancestral tablets filled the space, very solemn, with the most central one bearing the name of Lu Qing, the first ancestor of the Lu family. At this moment, some of the elder family members smiled warmly upon seeing the two arrive. As prominent figures of their generation, they naturally stood out. Li Qingqing, come over here. Yi Yukin smiled. Luli and Lu Qingqing approached and sat down behind a table where their mother was. He began to look around. The family cultivators present were still the same as in previous years. The Lu family had practiced an elite training system for hundreds of years. Only family descendants with medium or higher affinity for spiritual energy are considered core members, others are peripheral members with no right to attend the clan meeting. Those with a spirit root affinity under 20 are considered useless for cultivation, 21 to 40 are low-grade spirit roots, 41 to 79 are medium-grade spirit roots, and 80 and above are high-grade spirit roots. In the entire Lu family, only Lu Qingqing has reached high-grade talent. In Luli's generation, only 9 people possess medium or higher qualifications, and they all refer to each other as siblings. Among them, a few had parents who were ordinary islanders and were only taken to Qingling Peak for uniform cultivation after their spirit roots were detected. Lu Yuling was among them. Soon, some cultivators from the family walked in one after another, and the hall began to buzz with activity. Luli glanced around and counted 18 people present, including the 9 from his generation, leaving only the old ancestor and 3 clan elders in their 80s who had not yet arrived. A girl in a pink dress was also among them. After arriving at the hall, Lu Yuling looked around. Upon seeing Luli and Lu Qingqing sitting in a corner on the left, her eyes lit up, and she walked over. Qingqing's sister, 6th brother, you both came really early. Lu Yuling came briskly and sat down next to them. Luli smiled slightly. 9th sister, your cultivation level has indeed grown quickly, you're almost at the 6th level of Chi cultivation. Hearing this, Lu Yuling became excited. Hunting spirit beasts on the sea not only allows us to gather resources faster but also enhances our combat experience. 6th brother, have you considered joining us? I've earned nearly 1,000 spirit stones this year. If you delay a few more years, 6th brother, I might catch up to you. What's so great about Golden Kylan Island? She boasted somewhat. Luli smiled upon hearing her words. I'm used to being lazy alone. I'll consider it after completing the task of guarding Golden Kylan Island. He calculated in his mind that the sea exploration this year had almost garnered him 10,000 spirit stones, and that was just within a few hundred miles of the shallow sea. A large amount of spiritual liquid had been fed to spirit beasts, causing Iron Pillar to advance by leaps and bounds. If he mentioned this, it might scare both Lu Yuling and the family members to death. Of course, he had no intention of revealing this, as accidental leakage could cause serious trouble. While they were conversing, a powerful figure accompanied by 3 white-haired elders walked in. It was the old ancestor Lutand and the 3 clan elders. Descendants pay respect to the old ancestor, wishing him eternal blessings. Lu Li stood up along with everyone else and bowed his head respectfully. Lutand chuckled, "Today is just a regular clan meeting, no need for excessive formalities." He then walked up to the high platform, took out 3 sticks of spiritual incense, and solemnly placed them in the incense burner. Descendant Lutand prays to our ancestors. May the Lu family prosper and flourish. May the descendants of the Lu family continue unbroken. May the Lu family's luck endure forever. Lutand looked solemnly at the ancestral tablets of the family elders, Lu Qing, Lu Qingfen. Those who had made significant contributions to the family. Lu Li, being among the attendees, also felt as though a mystical lineage bond linked everyone present. This was the path of family inheritance. Without the protection of the family, his cultivation wouldn't have progressed so smoothly. In the future, I'll try to help develop the Lu family as much as possible. Lu Li thought quietly to himself. After venerating the ancestors, Lutand descended from the platform and sat at a table below, the 3 clan elders following suit. "Please, everyone, take your seats." The clan members all sat down cross-legged, and at that moment, some beautiful mortal maids walked in carrying platters of fruit and jugs of wine. After placing a jug of spiritual wine and a small plate of spiritual dates on everyone's table, they withdrew. Chapter 16 Gifts. Lu Li took out a spiritual date,